Hey everybody, thanks for coming in again. Uh, we're gonna do another video here with Paul from Freight Connect. You guys may have seen some of the earlier ones. Paul's just a wealth of information, the kind of guy you want on your team, the kind of guy you can learn a lot from. And there's great things happening here with some of the people he's been working with, having some successes with different customers, different shippers, putting a lot of pieces of a lot of different puzzles together. And we want to continue to have these conversations with him, see what's going on, see exactly how he can help us, all of us really, the smaller carriers like us. And it's interesting and exciting. So let's bring the man in here and get started here. There you are, Paul.
Hey, how are you, Adam? How are you doing?
Good. Back with the bow tie on popular demand, right?
It's here in demand.
Awesome. So glad to do this with you again.
Yeah.
A lot of people really hear what you have to say, really interested in this topic. And you put out some of the more helpful information to small trucking companies and owner operators. As helpful or as good as anybody else I've seen on YouTube. So we want to continue to do this. I'm kind of happy to have you as part of my team, and really think that more people should be taking advantage of this. So we invited you back today to see if I can just pry some more good information out of you. See what kind of gems you can drop for us today.
Yeah.
And what we talk about with Paul is Paul's from a company called Freight Connect. I got his website on the ticker on the bottom of the screen here. FreightConnect.com is the website. Paul helps connect small trucking companies like myself, like maybe what you are, with direct shipper freight. Can kind of act as your outside sales team. And with great success for me anyways, and a lot of people that we've been talking to. So that's what Paul does. And he also, likes to educate. Really, really helpful. So Paul, what's going on in the markets today? We're seeing some continued strength, maybe some different patterns going on with some volumes and stuff. What do you make of all this?
Boy, Adam. Yeah, and I appreciate you having me back on. I mean, I enjoy talking to you. I mean, even off camera. So we have some good conversations. But as far as the market goes, I mean, it's really, really hot right now. And guys, I mean, I don't know how any other way to say it. It's hot. You've got your imports that are coming in, which represents about 70% of what goes over the road domestically. You have just freight moving all over the place. You do have areas that are hotter than others, obviously. You just need to be strategic, and if you've got the information, it could definitely benefit you. One of the things I will say is that right now, here's the way I look at it. Have you ever been in an outside and the temperature is about 100 degrees or 105 degrees? Have you ever been in that scenario?
Absolutely. Damn near died from it. Almost melted completely.
Almost melted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So then when the temperature goes to, say 105 or 110, you know what I mean? Does it even matter? It's just hot, right?
Right.
No, it's just hot. So right now the market is kind of like that, where it's so elevated that even drops, we see a drop in the market maybe right now, it's still hot, right? It's still at historic levels. And just to give you an idea, I'm going to look over here because I don't have it memorized, but right now in regards to the OTVI, which is Outbound Tender Volume Index, which is basically measuring the volume of freight that's moving in the U.S., it's at 15,039. The high has been around over 17,000, right? So even though we're off from the high, we're still at an elevated level. And then just to kind of put that into perspective, say like a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, you were looking at about 9,800. We're at 15,000. Okay. And then when you're talking about rejection, right now it's at 25.63. The high about 28, a little over 28, and that is pretty high. Where we were about a year or two ago, we were in the 5s.
Wow.
So we're looking at rejections just being out of here. And that means out of 100 loads, contracted loads, 25 out of that 100 have been rejected. Okay. So
That's crazy. And if anybody who's wondering these OTRI and all these these terms, what do they mean? You see them all the time on Freight Waves. Go back to the first video that Paul came on and did with us. He teaches you how to read all these things. We see all these charts every day on Freight Waves online, and we look at them like, okay, I guess I take your word for it. Paul's going to teach you how to read them and make sense of them. You're going to read them for yourself, and truly understanding that for yourself is where it all kind of comes together, makes sense, and then you're like, okay, I get it. And maybe even tell you, okay, well, now I get it. Now this is what I need to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a thing of supply and demand, right? And that's what it boils down to, right? And so when you start thinking of it in those economic terms, basically, when we talk about OTVI, how many trucks or how much supply is out there? How many trucks are out there available to move the volume of freight that exists, right? If there's more freight out there and not enough trucks, right? The demand for trucks goes up.
Right.
If the demand for trucks goes up, what happens to the rate?
Oh, it also goes up.
There you go. So when we have a reverse, when it's in reverse, then obviously the rates are going to go down, right? So when we start thinking that way, we can understand a little bit as to why the rates are higher or why the rates are lower. You know what I mean? So whether a broker's involved or not, we have a little bit of information to help us determine, whether this is a good market for us to be in, or, what market do we need to be in? Does this one have a lot of a need for me? If it doesn't, then the rates are going to be lower, right? So, so it's right now it's really hot.
Right, and in regards to that, you had mentioned about the rates going up, and I had this conversation the other day with a live streamer. He's in the chat right now, the Great Freight Sage Logic, and me and you talk about it from the shipper side of it, right? Connecting with a carrier, small carrier with a shipper, and having the conversation with him about the broker side of it, and being an asset-backed brokerage, and it's also the time. Whereas if you were ever considering getting into that line of business, the conversation we was having is that too many people are missing the boat, thinking that the real opportunity right now is $5 a mile freight, hot spot market, hot rates, where we kind of both agree that the real opportunity right now is using the abilities you have right now, the opportunities to set yourself up for the next 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, changing over to that long-term thinking. Is that something you kind of can agree with?
100%, 100%. When it's so funny, I mean, it's kind of difficult to talk about, but when you think about what's created this situation, right? It's come out of a bad thing. You know what I mean? I mean, we're talking about COVID. But, when you look back historically, such as, the Great Depression and things like that, there are a lot of companies that developed out of that, a lot of big companies that exist today, big major companies. So during a situation like this, their opportunity exists, right?
Yeah, so, and it's unfortunate of why. The why is unfortunate, but I don't think any of us need to feel bad or guilty or awkward talking about it, because I tell you what, if we don't, somebody else is somebody's gonna fill these needs. Somebody's gonna hit these markets and these open spaces. We now have the chance as a smaller companies to do it, and it would be smart to take advantage of it.
Right. And to your point, I mean, some of those companies that became big major companies, that's where they were. They were a smaller company, right? And at the same time, they weren't highlighted, when things were going well. But I heard someone talk about it. Was on a podcast, and he was talking about the millennials. He said before COVID, with millennials coming into the industry, it was like, how are they going to play into our industry, transportation industry? What are we going to do with them? How is this going to work? But when COVID hit, and then you're talking about people working from home, right? And having to do things differently than what they were used to. They said the millennials became the star. This was something they were able to work from home. They were able to do some things that the old timers were not able to do or used to doing, and all the old timers wanting to come back into the office. But you have a situation where these times do require a different thought process, right? And so for that, you might be a small carrier, but there might be some things that you've been doing that cater to today's times, right? And then we talk about the new norm, right? Nobody knows what that's going to look like, right?
No.
But we do know things have changed and are going to change permanently, right? But for that, it's a great time to be a part of that change, right? Because it gives us an opportunity to do things that people had never thought of doing or accepted before. We
talk about things changing and the new norm and all kinds of catchphrases, but the short and simple of it is things are changing. You have an opportunity. If you don't choose to participate in that opportunity or at least take a run at it, you might be stuck right where you are for the next 20 years. Or if you don't take part in this some kind of change, you might not exist, at some point in the future, because hey, things are gonna change whether we like it or not. This is honestly. Yes. The only thing that's consistent in this life is change, right? Exactly. Yeah. And Sage Locke is right. It might be change for the worse. Change is not always for the better. And that's where we have a choice, to participate in it or not. Right. Yeah. And I think when you're with freight right now, I mean, it's become the big topic. It's something that hasn't been in the news, before, hasn't been a big topic. Now, technology has always been there. We've lagged in technology and accepting technology in our industry. But technology is front and foremost right now. If you can start looking at technology as a part of your business, right? You're going to do better. But here's the thing, regardless of whether you decide to look at technology or not, continue to do things the old-fashioned way, that's where the industry is moving. It's on a fast track now because of the way things have taken place. So we have to hop on that and look at options for technology. I don't like to hear this because are you telling me I have to give up my adding machine? Seriously, because I ain't giving this up. Hey. I've just moved on from an abacus. I refuse to give this up. I think that was okay. I think because we still, even with a computer and what have you, you can get a keyboard that has the 10 key, right? And I think it serves the same purpose, but at the same time, man, you hang on to that, and maybe at some point that thing's going to become worth some money. It's going to be back in style. I'm telling you, I'm bringing it back. I'm telling you right now. Right, like the record player, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, you're right. The technology in this industry is astonishing right now. Yeah. Some good, some bad, but most of it useful. Yeah. So, with this ship that was caught in the canal, we've talked a little bit about that. Yeah. Have we begun to, or could that be causing any degree of the reduced volume right now? What do you suppose that's all about? And what do you think we're going to see due to that? Is it going to be as big a deal as they said it was? You know what? It's so funny because I look back on history at some things. Just to give you an example, I don't know how big of the audience is as a sports fan, but there was just the NCAA men's championship tournament that concluded, and Gonzaga was number one, right? Although they were on the run for a perfect season, right? I hadn't followed college basketball all year, but someone told me that Gonzaga was on this perfect run and they were going to take it all. Nobody could defeat them. And I said, it's not going to happen. I just said, it's not going to happen. I said, my experience has been that a run like that, for some reason, always ends in defeat. I don't know why, but it's just, it's that, the championship, and there's other teams that rise to the occasion, and it just happens that way. I don't think it's going to happen.
And it didn't. There were some great games, but it didn't happen. So my point in that is that there's a lot of people that are talking. I've heard this before. When you have a major situation like this, everyone talks to the ultimate degree in terms of the impact that it can have, right, in regards to whether it's the world market or what have you. For some reason, I don't think that it's going to have such a major impact in regards to, domestically. I don't know how we're going to feel that. I don't think that we're going to feel it in a major way. But I would say this is that it was an interesting thing that did happen. There's many events that happen throughout the world that we don't know about. This one we happen to know about because it was a major canal. And even the size of this ship, was very interesting. And the blockage from, north to south of these ships was interesting. And the impact that it could have in regards to the price of fuel and other things that could go up, goods. But I mean, they fixed it. It took about a week, I think 6 days or something like that. And so things are moving forward now. But again, the bigger thing in my mind has been COVID, because I go into the stores. Some people might make fun of me because I do go into the stores. I do shop online now, but going into the stores, it gives me an opportunity to see what's going on. I see there's some things that are not on the shelf, right? Some shelves that are bare in some stores. And there are some people that will tell, or employees that will tell me, we didn't get our shipment in, or we just haven't gotten the shipment in. It was so funny. One employee, I saw him, his physical being and things that he was saying to himself, he was really getting frustrated with people asking him, do you have this? Do you have that? And he continually had to repeat that we do not, we're out, we didn't get our shipment in, and on and so forth. And I was like, wow, this is real. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Stuff is not on the shelf,
Do you think that along the way, some people will capitalize on this, use it as an excuse just for whatever reason, because lazy, or they don't want to do it, or they want to change things to their way and they need a convenient excuse? Do you think there's any degree of that going on?
Explain to me. What do you mean by that?
Like, I don't know, a store wants to reduce, they don't want to carry 20 kinds of yogurt anymore, so they cut it back to 10 and say, oh, we can't get that anymore. We can't get those kinds, or we haven't been getting our truck. Things along those lines. You think that's a possibility, though?
I mean, I think anything's a possibility, right?
Okay.
But I don't know of that being a strategy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think if you have stuff on the shelves, I think that's a better scenario. You know what I'm saying?
They're in the business to sell things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, so, but it is an answer to get, I mean, whether you go into your Best Buy and things like that, to those stores, you may notice there's certain things that are not on the shelf. One thing was I just got a new webcam, right? And when I was in the store, they were introducing me to different webcams. But what I saw something, I think, online where they were talking about the rate or the cost of these webcams have gone up because people are working from home and there was a demand for them, right? And what I found was one webcam that I bought when I went in the store was the same price of one that I saw online, but it was a better webcam. So, I think that you can go into the stores and you may see higher prices, right? Than they actually were before all this has happened. So the price of a lot of Lysol, things like that, a lot of prices have gone up. So prices are adjusting to demand, right? But I got mine online and was able to get a much better cam at a less cost. So, I think it serves the consumer well if they shop around,
right,
and look around.
Okay. So let's go down a different road for a second, because I have some questions. So this is the third interview we've done, basically, or chat we've done, live chat. Yeah. First one was pretty much starting from scratch. Nobody had really ever heard of your service. Yeah. Trying to make some introductions here and there. The second one was also great. We put out a lot more information. How have things gone for you since we started doing this? Like, what kind of conversations are you having with
Yeah.
small trucking companies, with
Yeah.
shippers,
Yeah.
people? What are people like me really looking for? Are they really wanting to do this? Are they open to the opportunity? And then on the other side of it, the shippers, what kind of conversations are you having with them? How are the relations going? You know, we're always talking about building relationships.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Can
Absolutely.
you talk a little bit about that and just say,
Oh yeah.
you know, speak about that a little bit?
Yeah, man, you gave me a lot to talk about there, and I appreciate that. Trying to think now where to start, really.
Makes it easier for me, then I don't have to talk. People want to
Is
hear
that
you anyway.
okay? All right. That means I need to drink more coffee and
And
or
if you
water.
like to start off for
Yeah.
people that are new here, kind of
Yeah.
give a brief synopsis of what it is that you do,
Sure.
and then you know
Yeah.
however you want to go at it from there.
Absolutely. Well, here at Freight Connect, what we do is we work to bring carriers and shippers together, right, to connect in the effort to help carriers grow, right? There's a lot of carriers out there that we have realized over the years they truly want to grow. They get into
Hmm.
the business, and after 3 months, 6 months, a year, they realize, well, you know what? Instead of me trying to work off the broker boards, I need to do something different to grow my company. And so we have always figured that if you could get direct shippers, you know, that definitely could be a benefit to both sides, and it could help your business grow. So that's what we did. We decided to develop a program where we help carriers get connected with shippers direct. There's a lot that goes into that. If a carrier were to do that on their own, which they could, you know, you would have to, you know, develop, find shippers to reach out to, then try to figure out who the person is to talk to, and then follow them up and go through the whole process, which we call sales process, to earn their business. Sometimes that doesn't take that long and depends upon their situation, and sometimes it takes a lot longer. But in that, it's worth it, but you just have to be able to take the time to do it.
All
So a
right.
lot of carriers don't have the time, or maybe the resources, know-how, or even want to go through that process, but that's what we do. So the way we position it is that we could be your sales team in that effort. Okay. So hopefully that kind of helps to sum up what it is that we offer without really getting into the details of it. So as far as where we're at now, from the time that you and I had started talking all the way up to now, this has been really great. And once again, I want to thank you, Adam, for allowing us to come out and be able to share, because we like to educate a lot.
Yes.
And the reason being is when you get into business or anything that you get into, we believe that information is key, right? And we're talking about good information, quality
Right.
information, so that you can make better decisions. Okay. Experience, you know, failures and things like that, whatever you want to call it, that is great, you know, because you learn from it. Hopefully you learn from it, right? And then you can go beyond and do better things. So we have gone through some things, seen some failures and what have you. We'd love to share that. We've had people come and talk to us, give us a call, have conversations, and even sign up to our program. But the conversations that we've been able to have prior to, you know, coming on to your show, has been different, and it has been great conversations. We've been able to talk beyond a broker carrier scenario where it's, you know, before it might have always been about the brokers are, you know, getting all the money, or the brokers are trying to drive down the rates and things like that, which, you know, I'm sure those things happen, you know, but we want to give the carrier some type of, I don't know if the word is power, but we want to give them some type of an angle that they can go about this without focusing in on rates, right? Without
Right.
focusing in on, you know, who's trying to get over on who, you know, because here's what gets lost in it all. What I believe, what gets lost in it all is the customer, is the shipper, is the client, right?
Okay.
Because twofold. One, really what's driving all this is the consumer, if you think about it, right?
Hmm. Right.
So if in its basic form, if we were to say, we can say that if we stop rolling our trucks, right, then the economy stops. if the consumer stops spending money, right, everything stops, right?
Right.
But if the consumer is spending money, we got the stimulus money that's out there. What is the stimulus money to do? It's to generate spending.
Right.
It's to stimulate, the economy. Is to move things along. So if the consumer has this money and they're all about spending money, right, then guess what? That keeps us rolling, right? And that's where we're at right now. So as far as that goes, we have we try to talk to our clients, which are carriers, in that way, so that the mindset can change from focusing in on the rate. Okay. Look at other things that make a difference. Now, when you start talking about that consumer spending and you start talking about the different markets, right, then we can start looking at what makes sense for you. What is it that you're trying to accomplish?
Right.
And we can look at the markets too and say, okay, I'm in this market. What does this market look like? What has this market look like? What has this market produced? Okay. And if that looks like an area that has consistently been of low volume, right? Maybe it's been a pretty competitive market, because the head haul is at a negative. Maybe I need to look at a different market, because I'm working harder than I should, maybe I need to be in a different market where there is freight. So we can talk about those things, right? And look at those different markets. Now, if you want to be in that market, so be it, no problem. But at least we go into it with information ahead of time. And we know what we're getting into, or we know the situation that we're in. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Let me just for a quick second here. A lot of great comments, a lot of good questions in the comments.
Okay.
We're gonna get to that. I just want to give you a chance to say everything you want to say. Thank you, guys, for throwing out the super chats. Truckers Assistant Coach, thank you. Cash is King, Keltarus Travels, Dud Hemsworth, looks like. Oh, Cash is King, Trucking, thank you. And somebody brought up the point of networking. We have conversations about once a week, and it just goes all these different places. And then we're both like, wow, what just happened here? The networking, it's in its infancy. It's kind of coming. It's going to happen. We don't know really where it's going to go, but I can see big things happening here. I'm glad to be a part of it. I think that I need to make a connection between you and the great Freight Sage logic here. It's a logical connection. A lot of things in common there. And I was talking earlier about the broker side of it. That's the gentleman I was talking about. And I think that kind of from your side, it's a small carrier. From his side is brokerage. I like the idea of kind of an asset-backed, small carrier / brokerage. A guy have that other opportunity to build your freight base and maybe cover some of your mistakes. If you have some freight you can't cover, you need to be able to have that flexibility to a point also. But the networking is it's key. It's very important, and I know you do a lot of that too, and just in your industry and with what you do.
Yeah, you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, go wherever you want to go. I just wanted to acknowledge all the good questions and comments here. I'm definitely going to get to them because there's a gentleman that's got a van that wants to ask you about too.
No, absolutely. In regards to when you were talking there, I was thinking, and I'm sorry, I was jotting a little note to myself, didn't finish it, but I'll go ahead and go with that thought. As far as the, if you think about it, you're an asset-based carrier, okay? And there may be a shipper, you can't move all their freight, right? And that's fine, no worries. But then going to the carrier's level or the shipper's level, shippers do understand that, and therefore they do diversify, right? And they need other partners to help. So just as you may be providing a service, you want to have other outlets, you know what I mean? And another outlet could be having a broker side, right?
Right.
To help. Okay. Again, you're not going to move probably all their freight, and that's okay. Right.
Right.
That's where that relationship is so important, you know, and having those conversations and talking about what their needs are, talking about what their expectations are, you advising what you can do. You know, just having that honest conversation. I mean, when you think about it, we're all people. I mean, if we were in the backyard having a barbecue, right? You don't know what Jim does. You don't know what Adam does. You don't know what Paul does. All these people are here, right? But until we start networking and then we find out more things, right? And then we start to talk about, you know, even maybe how we can work together. But there still may be some type of limitation. But in knowing that, that's okay. There's no problem with that. Now we're talking about transparency, right? And but I think that brings about a much better relationship, you know, that allows for a much better conversation. And not only that, you're talking about the longevity of this relationship,
Right.
being able to not just like in the spot market do a load now and one time, although you would love to move that load over and over again. You're talking about things that may allow you to move this load over and over again, you know, and get into other things.
You're opening doors that otherwise may not ever be open for yourself.
Absolutely.
You know,
Right.
even if you don't do a lot with it, just to have the option, to have the capability. There might be a day they might call you and say, I desperately, they may not want you as a broker, that they might call you someday as a carrier and say, I got these 10 loads, I got to move them bad. Like they got to go. I'm dying here. And you might be like, I got one truck for you, but you know, I can maybe help you cover these loads, you know, as through my brokerage.
Yeah.
Then there you are.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Now there are a lot of shippers that we run into, and they say what they'll say to us is, even though they didn't hear us the first time, okay, well, you know what, I'm looking for asset. I mean, or they'll even ask the question. So, you know, well, you're a broker, right? And we're like, no. And we explain the whole process, what have you. They say, okay, great. Well, you know, what we're looking for are asset-based carriers. We're not looking to bring aboard brokers right now. Anytime you hear me mention about a broker, trust me, I'm not talking against brokers. I was a broker at one point. Brokers serve a purpose, and brokers are not going anywhere, you know, and brokers can be your best friend, right?
Necessary.
Time, yes. And at the same time, for yourself, you know, you're looking out for your company and you want to grow. Asset-based carriers, you being able to have a relationship directly with a shipper is huge for your company. It will definitely help your company grow, right?
Yeah.
So again, we have to work, you know, together in this environment, because, you know, that's just the way it is. But
you just answered a question from the chat without me even asking you. So
okay.
There you go.
Great. Good.
So yeah, it's about different opportunities, and what you do is help make these connections.
Yeah.
How is that going? Are carriers taking the opportunities seriously? Are they stepping up and saying, I'm ready to be a big boy, play with the big boys, let's do this?
Oh yeah. I mean, the conversations I'm having today versus before is completely different. I mean, a lot of before, you know, coming on with you, a lot of people were inquisitive and were like, the response would be more, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before, you know, but not necessarily willing to take the next step. Right. And then at the same time, what we do is, you know, we do the education part in regards to the market and talk about how to talk to shippers, right? How to have those conversations. And so we walk you through that when you're with our program. But before, people are thinking of it as an idea and are like, wow, that sounds interesting, and not necessarily we're willing to go that next step. So we have clients that have come aboard since we've been on, especially since this last time. And for me, I mean, it would be great to have them on, or them to be able to talk about what their experience has been. You know, I mean, we're still in the process with some of these new clients of working through the process to developing these opportunities. But the conversation has been great, where they tend to get it. I mean, I'm not saying because of us.
Well, let me explain to you
Yeah.
from somebody from my side. Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
it's intimidating. Okay, I'm a small carrier, very small, small. To go talk with people to try sell them my service is intimidating. And I think after the first chat, people are like, "Oh, okay, maybe there's something here." And after the second chat, they're hearing uh, what's happening, how you do it, the what it is exactly that you do, and they're like, "Well, I can do this. It doesn't need to be as intimidating." So, kind of the goal here by continuing to do this is taking some of the mystery out of it, showing people that it can be done. It doesn't need to be as intimidating.
Yeah.
Yes, it's serious business.
Yeah.
That's why I'm in favor of hiring somebody like you, a professional, because you do this every day. Like, I work on trucks, dispatch, find freight, this, that. Like, I have enough to do, you know.
That's,
I'm going to let you do your thing because you're way better at it. You're going to produce better results. And quite frankly, I don't have the time right now.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
by doing this, we not only educate, which is the education you give out is huge, but maybe take away some of that intimidation factor.
Yeah.
Plus, you got the bow tie. I don't.
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's, that when you talk about the intimidation factor, I position it this way. I mean, it's sales, right? And if there's not a lot of marketing that goes on in regards to, hey, let's put out a commercial or put out a commercial during the Super Bowl and what have you, especially as a small carrier, you can't, it's not cost effective probably. But as far as, what we do, we have a lot of experience in sales, right? And transportation, a lot of background in transportation. There are, even with here's the thing. Before COVID, carrier or shippers were getting probably tons of calls, from brokers and what have you about moving their freight. And they may have a gatekeeper that says, hey, just send an email or we're not interested, and they hang up on them and things like that. When things flip the way they have, right, they're more apt to talk now. They're open to have conversation. But here's the key thing. This is what I love. I love the challenge. I love it when the market is not in the favor of the carrier and it's how do we figure this thing out? You see what I mean? So I'm always about that. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm always up for the challenge, right? So what happens is when this market becomes in favor of the carrier, I'm not going to say it's easier for us, but since we take it to the extreme of dealing with the most difficult, right? It becomes a situation where everything that we've ever done makes complete sense and how to communicate with the shipper, right? So when we are able to communicate with the shipper and take it to the next level and get you involved, right? I mean, we did this with you, Adam, and you can talk to this. When we communicated with you and told you what was going on and then gave you the information to reach out to the shipper, I mean, we could have conducted the call, been on the call with you, right? But we told you all about it, what was going on with the shipper, and now it's a good time to reach out to them. And we gave you the information and you reached out to them, right? I'm sure that there was, I'm sure that you don't mind me saying this. I'm sure there was probably some nervousness or what have you that was involved.
Hardest, one of the harder phone calls I've ever had to make in my life. I'm not going to lie to you. It's very intimidating.
Right.
But it was quickly, I realized quickly that they're just people like me and you.
Absolutely. So
they talked to me just like I was, just a guy,
Yeah. I mean, when you make the call, what we want to do is be able to give you information. So when you make the call, it's almost like just a handoff to the point where, like on a football in a football game where the quarterback gets the ball, hands it off to the running back. Everybody knows what the next step is. You know what I'm saying? It just flows. Right. Everybody knows. So the blockers do what they do. The running back goes to the hole and all that happens and there's a touchdown, right? And that's basically the way we position it, is that we want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So when we hand it off to you and you make that call, you know, it's just a continuation of the process, you know, of the play to the point of us getting that touchdown. And so with that, we definitely work to put you in a position of comfort, right? And when you do make those couple of calls, you know, it's like, okay, I get this, all right? And for us, as we continue to reach out to more shippers and get you involved, it becomes less intimidating, but at the same time, what we're talking about is a confidence to have conversations beyond the rate, right? And look at it from a different perspective and see, okay, let's look at this from a partnership standpoint, right? Let me find out about them. Let me find out what their needs are. Let me find out what their plans are, what their vision is, and what have you. You know, you may have a client where you're just talking rates, and you've missed the whole conversation about them creating or developing another warehouse, right? And why they're developing that warehouse, you know, what's really going on with them, you know, when that conversation can be more fruitful, right? Beneficial to both sides than just talking about the rates. Does that make sense?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's Freight Trucking, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Great Freight Sage Logic is kicking in $4.99 to get me a bow tie. Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Let's put your contact information out there. I got it on the screen. It's www.fr8connect.com is the website. Yeah. If you'd like to email Paul direct, it's paul.k@fr8connect.com. Let me see if I have a phone number banner here for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to just, it's 866, here we go. 866-342-0040, extension 109. It's going to get you right to Paul.
Yeah.
And check out the website first. Schedule. Oh, do you want to tell people how to schedule the free demo? Is probably the first step.
Yeah. I mean, however they want to connect with us, we'd love to talk anytime. Even talk more specific about your market, you know, and kind of see what's going on there. But you can go to our website, www.fr8connect.com. There is a link there, which is, it says demo. You can click on demo, and then it gives you an opportunity to schedule a date and time that we can talk. So, you know, you can access that anytime, and yeah, we'll get on our schedule and we'll be good to go.
Yeah. Let me just say, this is not something that is outside of your reach, anybody's reach financially. I guarantee you, you have spent that, you know, whatever the rate is, you've spent more than that on something really stupid in probably the last 6 months. So don't think this is something outside of your reach. Like you to talk to Paul, because you know there's can be some different details for everybody. So find out for yourself what your own situation is there. But let me tell you what, I've gotten great results from it. I've spoken. I don't know if I've communicated it to you, but I've spoken to a couple of the people that have signed up with you. Very happy. The one out in Pennsylvania that we talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
They're doing very well. Very happy, and I think they're gonna blow that thing up way bigger than what I'm doing. They're gonna kill it. They're gonna absolutely murder it.
Yeah.
And I'm more than a little jealous, to tell you the truth.
You got to get out that way.
Yeah. So yeah, let's some questions here. Let me just fire a couple off from the chat here.
Yeah.
Let's see, where did we have it here? Rael Rowlett is looking for a company that he can use as 53-foot lift gate trailer with swing doors. That might be a nice little niche for somebody. Is that something you can, or you've even had conversations about that kind of service already with people?
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's, you know, again, obviously, you know, depends upon the area and what have you. I mean, you go to New York, you can't move that, you know, equipment that big, you know, in certain areas. But at the same time, man, we just make the calls and we run into all kinds of scenarios, you know, with people that have a need. Give you an example. I mean, talking about out in PA there, as you just mentioned, one of our clients, they enjoy doing LTL reefer, and that's hard to come by. So when we talk to a shipper and they're like, it's so funny, we reached out to one and they do a lot of LTL reefer, and we said, hey, let's make that connection. And he was like, well, do you do LTL reefer? And when I said yes, he had to do kind of like a double take, and he was like, wait a minute, LTL reefer? He's like, we don't find that,
Yeah.
So it's a matter of us reaching out, making those calls, and looking for what it is that is specific to you. But the key thing again is you just have to do the work, to find those opportunities. And so as a 53-footer and with a lift gate and all that, are they more of a moving company or
I don't know. I think he's just a smaller carrier like myself, maybe a one-man truck. I've not recognized the name before.
Okay.
So, Rael, give Paul a call or schedule a demo on the website. There is an opportunity for just about anything somewhere. I mean, regardless of your kind of trailer, there's an opportunity for you somewhere. It's just a matter of finding it.
Yeah.
And you can sit there and make 100 phone calls every day, or you can let Paul do it. Is basically what it comes down to.
You got it. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So, Great Freight Sage Logic, I think we may have talked about this. He says, so if a carrier had a brokerage, the potential is endless with your sales service.
Yeah, I mean, we don't cater to standalone brokerages. It's not anything against brokers. That's what they do. They make those calls, and that's just what they do.
They typically have their own sales people.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: a broker is a salesperson, right?
Right.
So as far as that goes, they're all set up in that way. Now, at the same time, we've had brokers that have reached out to us, and more so, you have brokerages, and then they have their individual agents. A lot of them probably working from home and what have you, and they're looking for ways to expand their territory or their client base. And, so they're looking for leads. They're looking for ways to increase that and what have you. But that is what they do, right? As a carrier, what happens is you may have a dispatch, right? A dispatcher, what have you, and there's one of their functions or job duties is to find you freight, and the natural thing is to go to the broker boards, right? Not necessarily to find direct shippers, although that would be great, but that takes a little time. That takes that can take up you actually getting freight right now through a broker, right? So for us, while you're doing what you do, we're out taking the time, looking for those opportunities, following up, doing those things that are needed to bring these opportunities to you so you can have those conversations with them directly. So now with if a carrier, or I should say, I'm sorry, as a carrier, you wanting to grow your business, and then you have the broker side, again, you may not be able to move all the freight, right? Then here's your broker side that can maybe pick up some of those opportunities. You may not get 100%, but in terms of endless, I mean, you have all over the country that you can work, whereas your truck may be limited in certain areas, right? Well, there's other areas that you can work on. So you're not limited to a region, right? You now have all the United States that you can really be effective in that respect. Now, here's what I would say: as a broker, let's look at this again strategically. The freight amount of volume, it's crazy right now. Right. The amount of trucks available, right, is limited. The number of drivers is even limited, right? So we start to get into that scenario where there's a limitation in regards to trucks that are available. But as your broker, it's still, you have an opportunity to look throughout the country and find opportunities. Capacity will start to come in later in the year as these trucks become available to those who have orders. I mean, they're 10 months out right now.
Trucks are possibly not drivers.
Okay, say that. Okay, what do you explain that? Explain
that. They've been screaming for 50 years a driver shortage in this industry.
Yeah.
Most times I say bull crap. That's not true. Okay. Because if there truly was a shortage of drivers, there would never be any trucks sitting. There's trucks sitting all the time.
Okay.
However, right now, yeah, there
Mhm.
is a shortage of drivers because
Okay.
new companies have not been able to bring in new drivers due to COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of places just completely shut down their driving and training schools because they won't want to have two people in a truck. Getting your CDL has become increasingly difficult. You do backups at DMVs, all kinds of things, and driving schools altogether being closed. Local trucking company here, a great sizable company, completely stopped bringing in trainees for, I don't know, 6, 8 months. They didn't bring in a new driver.
Right.
So have we got to the point where we've started bringing in enough to fill those gaps? I really don't think so. And
Mm.
younger people don't want to do this job anymore.
Okay.
So we may find the trucks come in, but the drivers don't. That's purely
Right.
speculation. I have nothing to
Right.
back that up. That's merely a matter of my opinion.
Right. I think that you're talking your speculation is pretty spot on in the sense that there are those challenges that have always existed, in regards to bringing to attracting more drivers. You had one point there, it was competing with other industries, let's say construction, right? Jobs and what have you. People go there, make money without being away from home long, they go home every night, and things like that. You do have, again, going back to COVID, I mean, you have these schools that have shut down, so there's not a production of drivers. You have carriers that are putting out recruiting money, right, to attract drivers. And
Yeah.
I remember that was going on, I think it was 2018, and there was where $10,000 might be put out there for a driver to come to their company. But what would happen is the driver would come, they get the money, and then they go to another place that's offering money, and they would just collect that way. And then the carriers got smart to it and said, all right, we're going to position it where you have to be with our company for so long, and we'll kind of sparse out that money and pay you in that way, but you have to be with us over a certain time period to get that money. So there is competition to attract drivers, right? So you can have a truck, but if that thing can't move, obviously it doesn't benefit you. So there is a challenge to attract not just drivers, but new people to the industry to be as drivers.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Gentleman Tolga says that Paul is a professional. That's for sure. You got that right. I tell you, backing up a little bit, you're talking about sales. Sales is very much an art. Okay, just as we as drivers might think that backing a 53-foot trailer into a tight dock is an art. Maybe it is.
It is.
In that same way, sales is even, when times are tough, when it's not a carrier's market, sales is even tougher. So the margin for error is very small.
Yeah.
Right now, it's a carrier's market. You can maybe be a little freer with things, make a few more mistakes, but why not just find somebody like Paul's Rembrandt? I'm sitting here drawing with crayons and watercolors and painting on my placemat at the restaurant, and Paul's out here making the Mona Lisa. I'm not that guy. I know my limitations, and everybody should know their limitations. I can back the shit out of a trailer, but that doesn't mean I can go sell somebody on my service. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Maybe everybody doesn't see it that way, and I get that, but maybe not everybody's honest with themselves about what they're best at, what they're best suited for.
Yeah.
But hey, to each their own.
Yeah.
Clay McLaughlin wants to know, is there a minimum number of trucks best suited for your service?
That's a great question, because I've since we have been talking, Adam and I, and then customers have come aboard. Here's the thing. You got to start somewhere, right? And even if you have one truck, I mean, when we get into this business, or a lot of carriers get into this business, or drivers or what have you, they have a dream. We have one client, they have over 70 trucks, another one that is planning to come aboard, and he wants to grow from one truck to 200 trucks over the next five years, right? But you have to have a plan in place. So if you have one truck, how are you going to get to 2, 3, 4, 5? And Adam, you can talk to this, as you're, having a truck and, you growing, going through this process. But and then at the same time, it's like going beyond 5 trucks, 6, 7, 10 trucks, and what have you. You have to start somewhere. And the way we look at it is you've got to put yourself out there however you can, and do the best job that you can do, but do that consistently. So with our program, we've had clients come aboard with 1 truck, 70 trucks, what have you, where as 1 truck, they just want to move freight. They just want to find freight and move freight. But then you've got those that want to grow and go to 2 trucks, 3 trucks, 4 trucks, 5 trucks. Me going back to the previous client, his name is Adam, that's you. And, having 1 truck, and then all of a sudden you're looking at the opportunity to do more within a month, and then within a couple of months, you're looking at 2, 3 trucks, and then you're looking at, okay, 5, 6, 7, when honestly, you weren't thinking about that happening until, I don't know, however many months down the road.
Yeah.
But it was like, whoa, let's take advantage of this. 1 truck.
I don't feel like I could have built it off of spot freight. I mean, right now, yeah, absolutely, I could. Wouldn't have been the smart thing to do. Now it's very, very risky, even though I think this volume and rates are probably going to last for a little while. Very risky and possibly somewhat irresponsible. You'd start taking on all these trucks and drivers, and if you're any kind of a person or a business person, you got to feel a little bit of responsibility to the people's families, and just to do things the right way. You're responsible for a lot. You have a even though technically I'm not no obligation to that, but if you're any kind of a person, you feel a little bit of a moral responsibility that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But so and things are still tough. I mean, it's just because you magically have direct shipper freight doesn't mean that things are necessarily going to get easier for you. Just possibly more secure, and maybe a better future for you, because you're still going to have problems. But the nice part is now you're going to work with the same people all the time. You're going to build a working relationship with them. One of the people, this Denise that you set me up with, we've had some problems. We've had some problems with their product not being up to snuff. She apologizes for that, and she told me the other day, she's like, it's how you handle it that makes a difference, and you handle it very well. Wow. And I'm like, well, it's difficult, but I understand. We sacrifice a little bit for the long term. And she's like, no, I'm very happy with everything you've done for us so far. And that means a lot. You'll never hear that from a broker, probably.
Yeah. That's a great point, because one of the things that we really work to try to impart on our clients is, again, how do we communicate with the shipper, right? We're talking not just getting the freight one time and moving that one load. We're talking about building a relationship. And when we talk about relationship, if we really get down to it, let's go to a personal level in terms of our own personal relationships, right? We have situations that come up in our own personal lives, right? And how do we handle that? Because of a situation that comes up, that's not too favorable, something we don't want to deal with, but we have to, right? That doesn't mean you end the relationship, right? That means we work through it, we figure it out, and then we move on. And with that, in a lot of cases, as she just indicated with you, Adam, how you handled it, that can make all the world of difference in regards to how strong that relationship is developed. What comes of that, right? But here's the thing: even with that client, it may not all of a sudden explode to the point where you're the man and at the top of her list all the time, or whatever comes of it. You become more developed, right? I think our experiences is a definite is one of the ultimate teachers, right? What we go through, and then how we handle that, and then the results of that teaches us so much. So how we handle it, we can look back and say, okay, this was the result of how I handled this situation.
Yeah.
It makes you that much better. And you can use that to, when you go into another situation, you can use that as an example when you're talking to a prospect, it's just huge how we handle those situations.
I feel like you talked about each person and their experience. So let me talk a little bit about my experience, how it's gone with this one shipper in particular, one we were just talking about.
Oh,
I came in and she said, "Do you have any interest in going to such and such a city in Indiana?" And I'm like,
yeah,
"I don't see why not. I go there all the time or nearby. Where are we going with this?" She's like, "I have this one lane nobody seems to want. I can never cover it."
yeah,
And I looked at the mileage and what it was, and she gave me the rate, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense why nobody wants this load, because it's in my world. I'm like, yeah, I'll take every, if I had the trucks, we're taking every one of them. And so she starts throwing them at me, and I start doing them, and I'm like, everything about this rate, about this load is perfect, except for it's kind of a tight crunch on getting there and getting a break. You can do it legal, but there's some issues with hours of service and blah. It's just a tight run is all it is.
absolutely right.
And I'm like, other than that, this is the perfect lane. And I'm like, I'm gonna keep doing it for her. So I have been doing it as much as I can. And now
Right.
she sends out proposals to people. She calls me before she sends any one of those out to anybody else, before it gets offered to anybody else.
Right.
So me, I feel like I'm in more in control of my worth or my value to
Yeah.
somebody that way than
Yeah.
I am with just, okay, if I worked with C.H. Robinson on this lane,
Yeah.
hey, if it comes down to it, Robinson's going to dump my ass in a heartbeat. But I've built this just over the course of a few weeks.
Yeah.
And here's where we are. It's going well.
Yeah.
And when I can't take one, she's like, all right, no big deal. I understand. I only have so many trucks.
Yeah.
And then she puts it out, and eventually somebody else takes it.
Yeah.
So you're in control of your destiny. Obviously, things can still go bad. Things can still happen. But we all want, as small business people, why do we do this? We get into this owner operator thing and a small company thing because we say, oh, I don't want to work for somebody else. I want this to be for me, or I want to do my own thing, or I think I can do better than said carrier that I was working for.
Yeah.
This is kind of another step in doing that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, is that something you see other people saying or experiencing also?
Yeah, no, I mean, you have, one of the things I'll point out definitely is, when you're working for a company, right? Obviously you're working for someone, then you get out there and you're on your own, right? But what we have to remember is that our client, the shipper, that's our client. I mean, you can look at it as your boss or whatever, right? I mean, anytime you are in business, there is someone that you are, answering to, right? But at the same time, for you, you have the opportunity to position yourself, in regards to, here's what I like to call it. And we're working on something internally this is not a new term, but a carrier of choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as you already indicated, this Denise, she will send you that lane before she puts it out there, right? She'll come to you, right? So guess what you've become? You've become a shipper of choice, right?
Carrier of choice, yeah.
Carrier, I apologize. A carrier of choice, right? In that
good place to be. It's a good place to be.
It's a great place to be. What ends up happening is that ultimately Denise can become a cheerleader for you, right? And as you go on to expand and what have you, it's great to have those people in your corner, right?
Right.
And so, you have the opportunity to become the company that you want to become. There is, when you were talking, I was reminded of one of our clients, Matt. He indicated that in talking to some of these shippers, he and I talk back and forth, and we would talk about rates and what have you. And, rates are not the most important thing to talk about, or shouldn't be the major topic. But in talking to the shipper, he felt more confident, once we talked about the market and different things, even though the carrier shipper may have come back and said, I want this rate for this reason and what have you, right? It was a really low rate, but he was able to come back and talk to other things in regards to the market, right? And explain why rates were the way that they were and why his rate was what it was as a carrier, and unfortunately was not able to meet the rate that he was requesting, but could still be a benefit to him, right? So he was able to have a confident conversation with a shipper and feel confident about that, you know, and really not necessarily get the rate that he wants, but again, have a conversation to where he doesn't feel intimidated, you know, and not try to bully anyone around, but just have an intelligent conversation about the market. We get off a rate. Let's talk about the other things. You need to move forward. You can help. And things
I think we talked about that in a previous chat, that you want to become their go-to knowledgeable person whenever they want to know something of what's going on in the industry. You want them to come to you. It kind of puts you in a position of power, and they see you that when you give them a price or when you tell them something, you know what you're talking about. So there's value in that for them. Let's reset this a second because we probably got some new people in here. Talking to Paul today from fr8connect.com. I got the website scrolling on the bottom of the screen here. Let me drop his email here also in the banner. There we go. And Paul helps connect smaller carriers with direct freight shippers, help you find your own customers. That's his job. He's very good at it. And if you are looking for some kind of freight, make some connections in the freight market, they can help you however you need to be helped, from, you know, going out and being your complete sales type thing to making some connections, and you can make the phone calls, or they can do some with you beyond the calls with you. A lot of flexibility in what they can offer you here. So give him a call or go on the website, fr8connect.com, schedule a free demo. Check that out. Where were we going to go next? I kind of lost my... Oh, a couple questions here. Ron Johnson here. Good info. Will this work going through a receiving company? I'm not sure exactly what he means here. Do you know, or you talking about working with a receiver for bringing in freight, where kind of the receiver becomes the shipper? I think might be what he's talking about.
Okay.
Like hauling freight for a receiver instead of the shipper?
Well, I mean, here's where it works, and I think I understand it. When we communicate with shippers, and our clients are able to give us a list of shippers that they'd like us to reach out to, or businesses, I should say, that they'd like us to reach out to. And when we reach out to them, not all of them arrange the freight movement, right? It may be customer routed, so the customer actually, their customer actually handles it. Handles bringing in a truck or what have you, or dictates that. So, you know, as far as a receiver goes, it just depends on, do they arrange the freight, right? Whether
you can work with anybody that arranges the freight is basically what you're saying.
Exactly.
Just have to find them. Okay.
Right.
Excellent. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Ron Johnson. I'm sorry, if you want to drop some more specifics, I'd be happy to try and hammer this out for you. Clay says it's actionable knowledge. That's what we're talking about here, and he's absolutely right. Where did we go here? Amat Naur says, I'm just one truck. Is this something you see more often? You working more with people with just one truck or multiple trucks? I believe we talked about that, but I'll let you touch on it again.
Yeah, it does vary. I mean, we have clients that have one truck, right? And the key thing, once again, is and it's always been our thought, and the reason why we do what we do. There are client or carriers that are out there that want to grow, right? So obviously, if you have one truck and you want to grow, where do you go from one truck? You go to 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah. We work with those that are looking to grow. You can have a company that has 20, 30, 40, 50 trucks, 100 trucks, and in terms of growth, you know, it could be just a matter of shifting your client base, you know, or more diversifying your client base, right? Instead of just working with brokers only, I need some direct shippers. I'm always in this area. I need freight coming back or getting out of this area and what have you. And maybe developing direct opportunities can be that benefit to you, right? So to answer your question, yeah, we do work with those that have one truck, and beyond.
Yeah, Amata, I started working with them as one truck, so absolutely, I can tell you firsthand that it's absolutely something you can do. And even if you don't desire necessarily 100% to grow to more than one truck, you can probably provide somebody some pretty good service with just one truck.
Yeah, right.
Marty wanted to know a couple things. I saw one earlier. He wanted to know about if he can service companies as drop and hook, have a couple trailers on site for him. And he says also, how about military loads direct shipper? That's a good point.
Yeah.
How do you, I wouldn't even know where to go. Where you got to go to the Department of Defense, or how do you get involved in hauling military stuff direct? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, military is, there are those that do heavy haul, like for military and what have you. There's where you can, I'm trying to remember this. It's been years since we've done it, but, you do get approved through, I think it's GSA. Once you get approved, then what that does is gives you access to opportunities that through different government agencies, whether it's Air Force or whether it's God, I can't think of any others right at the moment, but military department. There's a ton of different agencies that you would have access to, and so they do post this and have their network where you can access and see these different opportunities, and you can put in a bid as well. So as far as us goes, I'm not gonna say I'll say that we don't directly focus in on that, but if someone came to us and said, hey, this is what I'm looking to do, or have an interest here, we can go through that process. But what it is that we would work to get you approved, through however the government requires that. And once you are approved, then that's going to open up a whole opportunity to see what's available, on those different government agencies. And I think they then put you through a training on how to work their system, right? So that, you can go in and search and put in a bid and things of that nature. So, but that's definitely a big resource as far as looking for opportunities.
Okay, yeah, I know that Freight Sage Logic here does a little bit of that, and he says you have to bid on movements. So I imagine they put requests out for bid, and you go ahead and bid that and see what you win. But Struby's, that's the wrong one here. Says he's looking for driver unload or other pain in the ass loads other carriers don't want to do. Do you see a shippers come to you with loads and they're like, I can't find anybody to do these loads. We know they suck. There's a level of suckiness to them.
Yeah.
Do you encounter that from time to time?
Yeah. Does he like recycled loads? There's
maybe.
There's. I mean, that's just what comes to mind because it was a more recent one and ones that we've run into. There's recycled loads, and a lot of people don't like to do that. And the reason why, obviously, is that it can be a challenge on the trailer, right? Some may do food grade, like Scott. His trailer needs to be food grade, and so that opportunity doesn't best fit him, in regards to recycled loads. So there can be a ton of opportunity in regards to recycled loads, but so their challenge is to find those that are willing to move their freight, right? So yeah, those things do exist.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, Struby's, however you say that, give him a call. You should have the conversation. Marty was, we just answered a question from him. He was asking if my direct shipper is live load or drop and hook. Mine are all live load, and they're all great. They load quickly. Like sometimes you back in the dock and they got your pallets on you before you're even back in the office getting your paperwork. So they're all great. On the other end, however, I go to a lot of Walmart DCs, and some of them aren't the greatest to work with, but they're better than they used to be. Anybody that's not been in this business more than about 3 to 4 or 5 years, you don't know how Walmart used to be. It used to be one of the worst places to go, but they've really gotten there. their act together quite a bit.
Great.
How are conversations going? Like you make a lot of phone calls in a day. I know that, and you talk to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
How are conversations going with I don't know if we should say shippers or people that arrange freight. Probably just shippers.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges? We kind of understand what they're facing, but what are they saying? Are they desperate? Are they just looking for good carriers? Are they saying what kinds of things are they saying to you? I just can't imagine how some of those conversations go.
Yeah, I mean, you have again different markets, right? And then you have markets where the volume is just crazy, ridiculous, and with that, some of them are very. I'm not going to say some of them. I think the ones that have a need are pretty transparent, right? When I say that, I'll have to go back to how we go about getting information, right? Some will maybe not be so forthright with their situation, but depending upon how the conversation goes, you can elicit a lot of information from them to the point where they get really raw with you, and let you know what their situation is. And with that, you can have a much better conversation with them about that. There are carrier or shippers out there that need help, right? And they have encountered the situation where there's not the availability of equipment as there was at one point, right? So they will tell you and let you know. And again, as I mentioned before, they will tell you, we are looking for asset-based, not brokered loads, or brokers. We're not bringing aboard brokers right now. Again, that's nothing against brokers. Maybe they have enough brokers, already set up. But I think what they're looking for is if you say you have equipment available, you have it available, right? Versus a broker who may say, all right, they may not say this, but they may say, it may be the scenario where, okay, let me see what I can do. You know what I'm saying? Let me find see if I can find the equipment. Whereas if they go to a carrier direct and are having the conversation, then the carrier is able to say, okay, I've got equipment available. Do you see the difference?
I think that's a key thing. And if you're the type of person that's making cold calls right now, or if you're trying to sell your carrier or even your asset-based brokerage carrier, making that phone call and saying, I have trucks. Like I have trucks. They're ready to move. We move freight every day. I think that's making a lot of difference right now. Is that that's what you're saying?
100%. And even with that, we have some shippers where they move a high volume, right? And when I say high volume, compared to a carrier who has one truck, whereas a shipper that is just, moving volume every day, they will say, okay, that's fine. At some point it might have been where, okay, you know what, I don't know how you can help us out, because you only have one truck. Right. But today we're finding that they're receptive to that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So the conversation is they're open because they know that they need help.
Yeah. And with one truck, I mean, you have to have realistic expectations. Are you going to call General Mills, who moves probably 1,000 loads across the country a day, and say, yeah, I got one truck, I'd really like to get in and do business with you?
Yeah.
Probably not going to have great success with that. You might, I don't know. Depends on how good your salesperson is. But down the block and around the corner from General Mills, there's probably a warehouse that ships out 50-pound bags of flour. You might haul a load every week for them.
Yeah.
And it might be better. It might be better to deal with. So it's,
But you know what, even with that, I mean, calling, let's say a General Mills, I mean, I'm just using an example since you brought it up. There are companies that will say, they will direct us to who is actually handling, those tenders, right? And then it may get down to that warehouse or what have you. And then we have the conversation with them, and, that's who you work with. So the key thing is that when you are reaching out to these shippers, you definitely have to navigate to the right person who maybe is the right person to talk to, makes those decisions, or that person may be the one who's able to navigate you back to a different location person who can assist you in what you're trying to accomplish. So you got to go through that whole process and navigate. You know, you don't know where it's going to take you because each company is different. So you got General Mills, and then you've got Nestle or some other company, and they all handle them in a different way. But you just gotta, you gotta allow yourself to go through that process and find the right person to talk to.
Okay. So everybody remember about half hour ago when I said that me and Paul talk. Paul and I guess I should work on my English. Sorry about that. I'm a redneck truck driver, lives in the woods and does whatever. That we talk about once a week, and we have these conversations that go off in a million different places and networking. It's kind of happening in the chat right now. Like, people are wanting to talk to you and get in touch with you.
Yeah.
First, let's talk quick about this spot market we've been talking about. Mark Ely just popped in. He's a longtime subscriber to the channel. He says he's very sorry he's late. He got a $14,000 load on 5 stops from Oregon to New Jersey. Starbucks on board, plus they gave him free coffee for about 6 months. So he's not going to sleep. He's going to run a ton of miles. That's just, isn't that just insane? That's just crazy.
How much did you say?
$14,000. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
No,
I mean, the 5 stops. I mean, if you got to bounce down to Florida and up to Ohio, that's different. But if it's somewhat en route, well done, Mark. Take the rest of the month off. Good for you. Vladimir wants to know if there's work on Freight Connect for Ohio market. There absolutely is, Vladimir, all over the country. The opportunities are endless, really. I mean, I get excited about it, and the arrangements you're going to make for other people in your company and small carriers don't have anything to do with me.
Right.
But it's so exciting of what's going on right now. And just, we talked about experience, everybody's individual experience, and they are going to be different.
Yeah.
But
100%.
the place I'm in now versus 4 months ago, has it changed my life right now? To an extent, I guess. I've added a few trucks here, looking at adding more. I'm waiting for a few more drivers to come on. They're just waiting to get their trucks and different things. I've bought several trailers. Has it changed my life yet? No. 5 years from now, might be in a way different place. A year from now, I might be in a way different place. Would that have happened on the spot market? Probably not, because it can't be forever. Nothing can last forever.
Right.
Markets get saturated. That's a thing. All kinds of things. But it's exciting to me to see some of these people that are in my chat they're in here all the time, and I want to see them do well, and things can happen. Great things can happen for them. So, that it's exciting, even though it's not all about me.
Right.
Plus, I want to see, what you did for me. I want to see you do well. There's a lot of shysters in this business. There really is. They're all over the internet, the different radio shows, even different channels on YouTube. And I'm not, it is what it is. But, when there's something of value and you're providing as much, let me toot your horn because you won't. Okay. You're a humble guy. You're providing as much value in this industry as anybody out there right now. Just nobody knows about it. Anybody out watching this, if you can share this out so people can hear what Paul has to say, go back and watch the last few interviews. People like this and serving these parts in the industry need to be promoted and put out there. Definitely. Absolutely. So, we all thank you.
Yeah. No, hey man, I tell you what, and I told you before, I mean, way back in the day, it was, got involved with the music industry, and we had a small group in Kansas. I mean, some guys that produce music and some acts and what have you. Went to LA and had an opportunity, and I just enjoy seeing something go from nothing, so to speak, into something, evolving. I just love that process. You know what I mean? And when we have carriers, that are excited about getting into something like this, right? This industry, and then seeing them grow, because we, in the beginning we're so wide-eyed, but it can happen, and to see that, and for the reason that they get into it, whether it's family, community, or whatever it is, I mean, to see things become better for people, for community and things like that, that's exciting to me, to us. There's someone, a company that we're talking, I don't know if I should mention them, but, and I know I've mentioned it to you offline, a company that I've been communicating with, a major company, right? And they're needing help, they're buried in packages, right? On the parcel end of things. And so, we're trying to have conversation with them and, see how we can support them, help them, and what have you. So, and when we direct carriers to them, we want to bring them carriers that are going to bring value, ones that they can be like, what, Freight Connect is bringing us these great carriers, right?
So go bring us more. Go bring us more.
Right. We don't want it to be where, hey, here's an opportunity, let's just throw carriers there. And then, it's not about being this carrier of choice, right? But that's what we want to create. We want to create carrier of choice. We want to help develop carriers that people will recognize and say, hey, I want to do business with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's something here I want to say, because, and this is just in my head, I'm not speaking for you, I came up with this, but this kind of thing here can really change how some things work in the industry. Okay, if these shippers open up to the idea of dealing with people like me and some of the people in this chat here, that can change everything. And here's what I think. Here's what I think a big shipper, like, I'm not going to name the name, but like, I know who you're talking about. We've had this discussion.
Yeah.
Here's what I think they need to do, because they damn sure have the resources, and it's going to take one company to take this chance and do it. And I think it'll change a model for other companies going forward. So you see these click and go brokerages now, right? You got your Uber, you got your Convoy. Most of your big brokerages have a click and go where you go on the app. You never even talk to anybody. Yeah. So this company that you're dealing with, they have a lot of load opportunities out there. I think one of them should go and they should set up a database. They should set up a website. They have the technology. They probably already have this technology in the tracking the packages and stuff. They should set up a sector here where they can say, we're gonna test this with small carriers, where we are going to post loads that only carriers can see, whether it wants to be a bidding thing, whether they want to post what they want to pay. However, I don't know what the whole thing looks like. They build the technology, try it out. I can about guarantee you they're going to have some success with it, where we can build that, for lack of a better word, click and go, direct with a shipper. I think they're going to get better results than what they think they're going to get out of it. I'd like to see somebody try that, and I think somebody should.
I see what you're saying. So like you say, a click and go, basically it's internal, right?
Yes, you have to be pre-qualified with. You have to go through a pre-qualification service, maybe meet some standards, maybe ensure that you have the right equipment, a good enough service record. You got to be legit. There's no fly-by-night, no shady stuff going on here.
Right. Yeah, I think that the key thing, I think, is this. One, you definitely want to make yourself attractive, right? What we do is when we bring on a client, we send out a questionnaire, work to get to know them as best we can with that questionnaire, and we develop some copy, script that talks about their company, right? And put that out there, and obviously gives a shipper an opportunity to at least read it on that one sheet about that shipper or carrier, and get an opportunity to kind of get an idea as to what they're all about. The key thing is this, you can put on a website that you're always on time, or that, you're going to provide the best of this and what have you. That's pretty generic, and everybody says that, right?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
When you read through your own script in terms of what you are sending out to these shippers, right? You want to be about that. You know what I'm saying? If you have stuff to back that up, like James, he's veteran owned, right? And he's got his military background, and this is how he conducts business and why and what have you, right? You know, he has something at least to back that up what he's saying, and then obviously he's going to have to perform at that level, right? But the thing is that you want to put out there information as to who you are, right? Or even as to where you want what you want to become, right? You have to be about that, not just moving freight and being transactional. Now, when you get to these larger opportunities, you know, these larger shippers and what have you, you want to come correct. You want to come, you know, with, hey, this is who we are, and this is what we can do, what we can't do, what we would be able, how we would be able to help you, right? So you want to deliver on what you're promoting, right? And with that, I think that that's going to give you an additional check mark to the point where, okay, as we go along in this whole process and things kind of start to even out, this company did really well for us, right?
Yeah.
And this is what they're about, and we know what they're about, and we want to continue to work with them in some capacity, right? And so now you've seen your company with all that effort that you've put in, you're starting to see it pay off and get to where you're trying to get to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there will be different ways to prove things out. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially, you know, when you're dealing with a company like we're talking about here, there's going to be no nonsense. This is going to be business-like. You know, you might be a guy with one truck, but you damn sure will be expected to operate as a professional at a high level. There will be no nonsense, you know. So, you know, it's merely an idea. Whether it'll ever happen, hey, probably not. But let's we're getting some more great questions here. Vladimir wants to know, how do we get set up as a motor carrier? Vladimir, go to fr8connect.com. It's on the screen right now, and set up a free demo. That's the best way to get started. And what that's going to do is Paul is going to contact you. You're going to sit in front of the computer. He's going to walk you through some things. Okay. And do a one-on-one. Plus, anybody who hasn't seen before, if you're new in here, please go back and watch the first two interviews I did with Paul on my channel. They're archived in there under live streams. Ton more great information that we're not even necessarily duplicating today. So Mark Ely says, is there brokers in other countries booking freight here then rebrokering? Oh, there damn sure is. I know people that are experiencing that. Are you seeing any of that, Paul, or is that something you don't really have contact with since you're not really in the brokerage realm anymore?
Yeah, you're talking about what, rebrokering, double brokering, and
and
like that, or
there's a lot of outside the country stuff going on.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has seen this brokerage on the broker boards. Massive 3PL is the name of the company. Please don't take any freight from there. Yeah, you're probably never going to get paid. And this is merely my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. I'm not telling you what to do. You do what you want to do. But there's a lot of outside the country things going on. People are moving their dispatch outside the country, a lot of carriers, and brokerages also. And, you know, I don't know if they think because they're outside the United States that the rules don't apply, but they'll grab all this freight and then rebroker it.
Wow. Okay. I get it. Yeah. I mean, I think that the world has become so small, you know, due to the internet and things of that nature. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that everything has its pluses and negatives, right? And as far as being able to be a small guy and then have a big dream and put it into play, you do what you can do, and hopefully your motives are good, right? But when you start talking about what you're saying, obviously that's not a good thing. I have seen it or heard about it and what have you. I know of one individual who's reached out to us, and I don't know if he really wanted to express it, but he did eventually in our conversation. It was like, hey, this is what I do. We do dispatching, and we're looking for more opportunities with carriers. and maybe we can provide carriers to you, for your service. And I was like, yeah, sounds great. And he said for his country, where he's from, he developed a dispatch service, and it's because in his country, that doesn't exist, or those opportunities don't exist. So he wanted to provide those opportunities for jobs and what have you. So, all that sounds great to me. But what you're talking about, if that's going on, it can get so messy. It can get messy quick.
It's going on. It's going on.
And it always has been. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we try to, if we're cognizant of it, if we know about it, hear about it, if it seems like that's what's going on, yeah, we will talk against it, and we will direct ourselves away from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Taylor Smith says just a company driver, but I feel like this is all good info in case I buy a truck one day. Yeah. If you're ever thinking about it, something like this can actually even kind of help you make your decision. It's another possibility for you. So always keep that on the back burner. Great Freight Sage Logic wants to know, and I think we talked about it in an earlier show, what is the vetting process for your carriers? Like things like insurance levels. Can you talk about the vetting process a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, we do, we want you to provide us with your carrier packet, right? It's your authority, your insurance, your W-9 references, so all that information we request. Now, in connecting with the shipper, there are shippers that have their process of vetting, right? So we've had where we have a shipper has within a day said, well, you know what, we'd love to bring you aboard, but it looks like you only have one truck. They went through their process. They called the ship references and what have you. There was nothing wrong, but one of the things was that they could not go beyond. They couldn't take an exception in regards to the number of trucks that they had. But they did say, do this though, reach out to us, whether it's in a year or two. We'd love to talk to you, when you do get to this level, right? So for us, we are looking for the basics in regards to the packet, and we do have that available. And that is what information that we do send out to our shippers. And we do look for, the shippers to, take on their own vetting process, to make sure that you reach their qualifications. Okay. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Mark Ely wants to know what kinds of systems do the large carriers use to broker their loads among themselves? So I'm guessing he's asking what kind of different softwares are these bigger carriers using for brokeraging, and I know that varies. There's a lot of different systems out there. What are some of the more popular ones?
I mean, you and I just had a conversation about that. There's
different TMS software, transportation management software.
Yeah. There's Mercury. There's I know that they used to. I don't know how much they're promoting it now, because I know they're getting into some other things. Even Truck Stop, offers something. There is, and it wasn't planning to talk to that topic, but there's quite a few. It's been a little bit since I've looked into it.
Aljex is one.
Who is it?
It's ALJEX is one. I don't know who makes that.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been around a while. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I see a lot of them. There's many different ones. It's all a matter of what integrates to their TMS and what works in their system. So
some are more complicated than others, in the sense that, like I know Internet Truck Stop, it was like so many different options, right? Mm-hmm. It's like it would be somewhat difficult to try and figure out how to make it your own, and then at the same time you have a cost component, so maybe for those that are more on a major level, and then you have other ones that is very cost effective, and they still provide you what you need to do various things.
I've just started one here, working on one. Ascend TMS. It's $70 a month basically, and the system is huge. It can do the brokerage side and the carrier side, and just the capabilities of it are probably as much as anything I will ever need. for myself. So I mean,
Yeah.
the prices. Here's everybody always wants to talk about leveling the playing field. Okay, well here's one thing that levels the playing field. I can run a Send TMS for $70 a month and operate on the same level as a carrier with 400 trucks, probably spending $10,000 a month on their software. You want to talk about leveling the playing field between the small carriers and the big carriers. Technology is doing that. Now, there are still some things that are ridiculously priced, and you do what you can, but it's making it possible.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing even has EDI. And one of my customers said, one that I was dealing with before said, yeah, we can send you more load opportunities if you implement an EDI.
Right.
So guess who's going to implement an EDI?
Absolutely.
Marty says, let's talk big leagues here. The big three automotive companies.
Okay.
What do you think? You think that's someday a possibility? That's really shooting for the moon. I'll be honest with you. That's right out there.
Okay. What does he mean by that?
I'm thinking about maybe hauling freight for him. I don't know.
Automotive?
Yeah. Obviously, he's talking about Chevy, Ford, or GM, Ford, and Chrysler.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see why not. There's a lot of. I mean, depending upon what you're talking about hauling. I mean, there's a lot of. What do you call it? Hotshot carriers, what have you. There's a lot of that they look to move that type of freight. Here's the thing. I mean, we already kind of, I think, touch upon it. The chip, that has caused so much delay in production of these big trucks, that has been a popular topic where getting more trucks into the system to deal with this capacity, has been a big topic. Right now, man, freight is just moving. It's impacting the motor industry, right? When we say the motor industry, we're talking about the car industry, we're talking about parts and things like that. There is a need just to move freight, right? So I would not be intimidated or too much question about any industry, any company. There's so much innovation that has been out there and built up, and now the way things are, it's allowed all this market or all this technology to just get pushed out there, and let's try this, let's try that, right? So even in moving freight with certain companies, I would not limit myself in any kind of way, right? Doesn't matter.
So, let me once again promote you where you won't. I think there's an opportunity here. So everybody watching, you want to haul freight for General Motors? You got the big boy pants enough to call General Motors? Because Paul right here is saying that he will call General Motors for you. He's not scared.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you're serious, I mean, we can joke about it all day long.
Yeah.
Nothing is off the table. You're going to do it. You're going to make that phone call. How are you even going to find the person at General Motors? How are you going to know who to ask for?
Yeah.
Paul's going to do it for you. So, whether you have success or not,
right.
maybe not. But I guarantee you will never even get to the person that you need to talk to when Paul might. So I'm going to promote you because I think you deserve it. You've earned it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I think the thing is that you don't know until you try, right?
Yeah.
You just don't know. I mean, there's where you have to make calculated risk decisions. You don't want to do something foolish, but when we're talking about what we're talking about, if I don't know, I remember when we were putting together our website many years ago, and I didn't know what could be done or couldn't be done. But what I quickly realized was that I can't limit myself. I don't even know why I'm asking these questions. It's just that this is what I want. You know what I mean? And what I found too was even the developer told me at certain times that, Paul, we can't do that. And it just made so much sense that this thing should be able to be done. And guess what? A couple of years later, when I'm having a conversation with him, he's like, oh yeah, we can do that. It was the same thing I asked him about 2 years ago that he said he couldn't do. That 2 years later, he's like, yeah, we can do that. So my point is that, don't limit yourself in regards to, whatever. Do not limit yourself. So that's the approach we take. we will call anywhere, anyone, and they may tell us that, hey, this is the process you have to go through. You need to call this number, go through our procurement department, and blah blah blah, and on and so forth. Because guess what? Somebody is moving that freight for them, right?
Right.
And they figured out how to do that. So we just have to go through the process and figure out what that is. You know, it may take time, but that's just how it is.
That's the process. I mean, it has to be done, and somebody that knows how to navigate that process is worth their weight in gold. Dan here is, I'm guessing, seeing you for the first time. He says, how many loads per day are posted on your site?
Well, we don't post loads. We're not a board. You know what I mean? We're not a load board or anything.
This is not a load board.
Not at all. But in regards to, you know, our program, I mean, I kind of feel funny about continually talking about our program, but because I'm wanting definitely to hopefully educate in regards to the process of getting going the next step, you know, in terms of communicating with shippers and going beyond that. But at any rate, we make tons of phone calls, you know, for you as a client, and in those phone calls that we're making, we are reaching out to, I don't know, it could be anywhere 40, 50, 60 shippers at a time, right? And when we do that, we are promoting your company. We're sending out information, sending out literature, and then ultimately we're making follow-up calls, right? Mm-hmm. So while you are moving freight, you're dealing with the broker and all that good stuff. It's like I tell people, it's like as if you go back there and you knock on the door and it says sales and you open it up, that's us. We're back there, they're working for you, right? So we're making these calls on a consistent basis. We, you know, we're constantly communicating with our agents that are making the calls, finding out the conversations they're having, always coaching and developing and all that good stuff. So this is a sales program, right? And it's a sales program that is focused on your company. So,
yeah, and going back to some of the conversations we have, you know, a couple times a week, that kind of missing. Like, so you call these shippers, you're talking to shippers all day long, you guys are, and maybe they don't match up with the carrier that you're trying to put them in touch with, right. But you made that contact. Like, they may tell you, we only pull dry van and we need carriers with a lift gate when you're calling to try and sell somebody with a reefer. Yeah. But now you have that. Yeah. So tomorrow, somebody from the chat we're doing today, tomorrow somebody might call and say, I'm LTL dry van. I got a lift trailer with a lift gate. And then the bell goes off in your head. I just talked to that company last week, and they're 50 miles from where you're out of. Yeah, it's a natural fit. Yeah. And that, talk about networking, that goes on all day long, whether it's you know, it goes off immediately or not. But we've had that conversation. Like, you called me one day and you said, I know you go to Pennsylvania a lot. Do you ever make it to so and so? And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, I just talked to somebody out there that has looking for somebody to bring loads back to where you're from. It didn't fit because I didn't have the right kind of trailer. Yeah. Among some other smaller details. Mm-hmm. But these are the kinds of things. It gets bigger, and things are just like my friend Cash always say, they're popping and clicking over here. Yeah, connections all over the place. So, Marty said, am I keeping you too long? You have a big audience right now. You're talking to a lot of people. I don't know if you know that, but I just want to, you know, if you're okay to keep going a little bit here.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Go ahead.
Marty says, have you ever worked with a flatbed carrier that has 50 trucks or more?
Nice. I wouldn't say 50 trucks or more, right? But just to expound on in terms of flatbed, I don't know where Marty is. I don't know anything about Marty, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it from the standpoint of this in general. You know, the industrial market is really taken off, right? Which flatbeds cater to. So that is an area that is becoming hot, you know. So that would be if Marty was to say, "Hey, Paul, you know what? I'm interested. Let's go. Let's get set up and see what we can make accomplish here." then we would definitely pull leads that in that market that Marty thinks will work, because we'll provide him with information in regards to those markets that he's interested in, and then we'll look at that, and if he thinks that that's the market we need to focus in on, we'll do that. And then but the industrial market is taking off, but again, to answer his question right off the bat, no, we've not worked with a flatbed carrier that has 50 or more, but that doesn't mean that we can't support you. And that's not to try and get you to come and sign up with our program. It's just, once again, to say, hey, let's go into an area that we've not gone into before, because
Right.
there definitely could be a lot of advantage to you or benefit to you.
Yeah. The post trip has stopped in. He says he's awake now. Hey, Paul, you're working with, are you familiar with who that is?
Yeah.
James?
Yeah, absolutely.
James?
Absolutely.
Okay.
James?
Yeah. Yeah, James, that is.
James.
And we were talking a minute ago about going after some big boy companies like the big three automakers. And I believe James's first question when we originally talked the first time was he wanted to send you after a very big boy customer right out of where he lives. I don't know whatever became of that,
Right.
but I'm sure he put you up to that task. I don't know anything further from there, and I'll let him decide if he wants to talk about that or not.
Okay.
Let's see where we at here. Here you go. He says that he's been dealing with you. He says that your getting process is legit and on point. He says, thank you for steering me to Paul. The journey is going great. I tell you what, James, it's only going to get better. I don't know where you're at. I don't know what kind of things you're talking about, but it's going to get better. And you're a smaller carrier like I am. You're a little bigger than me, but I'll pose the question to you because I think we're on a parallel path here. If you're going to continue to grow your carrier, do you ever really see yourself hiring a sales team and paying, wages upwards of thousands of dollars a week, paying travel expenses, paying money to take your customers golfing and schmooze them when you can send Paul out and get the same results for a fraction of the fee? I mean, have you thought about that, James? Because I think about it all the time. Like, I think about where I am now, where I'm on the way to, and I'm like, I kind of want you to just quit what you're doing and come and work for me. But, I'm perfectly happy to have you do that work on an ongoing basis for all of my needs. I mean, legitimately.
Yeah, right.
And I would just about bet that James, a post trip here, would say the same thing.
Yeah.
I would just about bet anybody in that position after going through the process would say the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. James, he, the thing I like about James is that I believe James is, he's all about taking care of his business. You know what I mean? And what he says is what he will do. You know what I'm saying? And he definitely wants to grow. And with that, I think he's got a good foundation for that. And so we are just in the beginning processes of looking for opportunities and what have you. James has a good story, so if he wants to share that, I'll let him do that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited, and working with James. So I'm excited working with him. So I can't talk on his behalf, you know what I mean? From the standpoint.
Yeah, no, I would not. Like I said, that's up to him and how. Okay. He says he'll come on and talk about it if we want to. Give me a minute. Let's run through some more comments here.
Yeah.
Marty wants to know if you have an outreach to California.
Yeah. Now outreach, I don't know if that means shippers in California, but
I'm guessing.
Here's the way I look at it. When he says that, all of a sudden my mind goes to a map, and I'm looking at the U.S. And so as far as California, Southern Cal is busy. You still have the port situation. You've got imports that are coming in. You've got it's just heavy. A lot of opportunities that does exist. And what we do is, again, we look for those shipper opportunities and reach out. I think you can look at a map and see where it's hot. Oh, that's great. But then the next thing is what you've got to find. You've got to go and reach out to those opportunities. You've got to actually talk to people. Not just talk to them, but you got to develop relationships. You know what I'm saying? So the hot market in California definitely is Southern Cal at this point.
Okay. Yeah, James, I just emailed you a link here. We'll just keep running through some stuff here while we're waiting for you. Amat says, I feel the level of service this program offering not matching the price it costs, because I will happily try this kind of service all day. You should, and you're exactly right. I actually been trying to talk Paul into raising the price because I told you, if I'm lying here, you expose me in front of everybody.
Yeah.
I told you that you should be charging more, and that what you are doing is worth way more than what you're charging. Did I not say that?
I will say this, and I have to apologize to everyone that is watching right now. They go to our website, and we do have like a pricing option, and that is for a different program that we are actually kind of phasing out, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And it's where you do all the work. So when they do contact us, there's a different pricing structure for the program that we're talking about. And so, for someone who may be a sticker shock, only because it's different than what is posted. So I apologize for that, and we need to, work to adjust that. But at the same time, I don't want you to feel like we're trying to just put that information out there so you give us a call and then all of a sudden we switch it on you. You know what I'm saying? Because
no, and I'll make it easy for you. I'll take full responsibility for that, because me and you were having some conversations, and when we started talking about, you started asking me, how can I better tweak my program?
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, okay, add this, subtract this, change the term, change the price maybe closer to this, and it was probably more than you can keep up with at the time. Yeah. And you also tried a lot of new things, like to see what people. I give you credit for that. It was like an adaptive program where you're like, okay, try this, try that, try this, try that, to where you get it to where people liked it better, and it served people better.
That's true.
So to an extent, hey, I talked you into it. Sorry about that, everybody.
But Adam, the thing is this too, and I really appreciate you. I mean, communicating with our clients as carriers, right? It's so important to have that feedback. And as I said before, you and I started talking and doing all this, there's been tons of carriers that I've talked to, right? But how to present it, and having the platform that you've provided, it definitely has allowed us to get feedback, provide get the message out there, right, to where people are communicating back with us, and we can have a much better conversation. Get beyond thinking, hey, is this legit or is this not, right? And actually have a conversation more about their business, more about the shipper, get deeper and how this makes sense, and putting data out there and how to read it and what it all means. You know what I mean? Yeah. That becomes more of value to everyone. And I appreciate you for that.
Okay. Yeah. So James is here. You mind if I bring him on in here? Something we need to come back to, because I've been supposed to ask you this question last time, and I don't think we got to it. Okay. And I'll just throw it out there so you can think about it. It's what if you have two customers that want into the same shipper and receiver, and about competing and competition and things like that. So remind me, we need to come back to that. So here, let's bring James in. There he is right there.
Hey, morning. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Brother, I'm doing good. How you doing? You're in the truck?
Yeah, I told you I was going to be out this week running hay, so for my veteran farm. So
excellent. I thought you might be able to take a break, man. This man's nonstop. Trust me. I try to contact this guy. This guy is nonstop.
I know. Usually, Paul's got a niche for. He contacts me, and it's usually when the world's been set on fire for the day or whatever. So,
isn't that every day?
Yeah, I know, right?
Do you still have your hair, James? Is it?
Yeah, I've been able to grow some back this week. You can tell. So
that's good.
I'll get back to the office, and it'll probably go away real quick. So.
Yeah. So I didn't want to speak out of turn. Speak for you, speak about you. Like whatever you want to say or talk about,
Well, first, I'd like to thank you for steering me in Paul's direction, and then I'd like to thank Paul following up and staying on me, because the connection that Paul's been, you know, in the value that Paul's been able to provide him and his company's been able to provide in just the short time that we've been working together has really been great. I mean, he sent me a couple of emails and that, you know, we had a couple phone calls, conversations. He asked me some questions and I provided, you know, the answers and stuff like that. And the analytics and the information that he provided me as a small carrier that I've been searching and all this other stuff, it basically, it was mind-boggling. You know what I'm saying? It was really, really mind-boggling, and it reaffirmed, you know, number one, what my numbers were showing, but also the direction that I'm going now, because I couldn't invest in a sales force to provide me the level of service that he's providing at this point, you know, and we're still early. We are, and I mean, if I'm wrong, Paul, tell me, we're still early in my process.
Oh, very early. Yeah.
You know, and just, I mean, I'm already getting emails, you know, my email inbox is full of people that I guess, you know, the team's already talked to, that they're waiting to hear a follow-up phone call on or whatnot. And it's it's changing it. It's changing the game for me. I've already talked to, you know, my contractors, my drivers, and they're excited about it. They are very, very excited about it. And like you said, I couldn't afford to buy an outside, you know, an individual sales team, pay for one to do what he's doing. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
you know,
and
I'm
that's
like, I'll share him if he comes to work for you. I'll share him. I'll pay part-time salary. We can bounce between us.
Wow.
yeah. I mean, you know, it's like back in 1984, the sports analogy, because that's you know, Paul, I know you love the sports. In 1984, if I came to the Lakers and said, you know, I know this kid, this Michael Jordan kid. I think he's going to turn out to be a really good basketball player. I see a lot of potential there. Yeah. And, you know, I'm out trying to shop around Michael Jordan and nobody's listening. Right. You know, 30 years later, you look like the biggest genius in the world.
I mean, the thing is what he's doing, the value that he's provided me so far is, you know, you hear the murmurs about saying how the freight market is going to crash in the next month, next quarter, right? Yeah. But the thing is the information and the detail in the information, in the proper interpretation and the information that he provides is completely opposite. And that's why I'm like, yes. I'm not worried about it. Absolutely not worried about it, because Paul and his team are on top of it. And there's the ceiling's unlimited right now. It really is.
People that are talking that mess, what kind of evidence are they putting forward? Other than
that's what I'm saying.
I have a feeling, or this is too long, this and that. Well, put some evidence out there, and then you go and you look on FreightWaves. It shows all these charts. You don't know what the hell they mean, and then Paul comes along and explains you just how to read these charts, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that his team arms me with that, which I'm waiting for that. I think that's going to be the next step, if I'm not mistaken, is is the conversation between me and the customers with the information that you guys have prepared and armed me with, and it's going to be like to me, it's almost like an unfair fight. You know, he's armed me with everything I need to go into this conversation and into this part of the decision making process, to where it puts the ball back in the customer's court to say yes or no.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that. Go ahead.
Oh, just James too. When I make the statement of, and I want to know somebody else's opinion on this, because I can say what I want to say all day long, and if nobody's here to argue with me, then hey, that's great. But I want to hear your opinion. Okay, so you have a small carrier. Mm-hmm. You want to get direct shippers.
Yep.
After dealing with what you've dealt with, is this something that you're best to do on your own, or send in the Michael Jordan, or the very well experienced and talented salesperson? What do you imagine the difference in your success rate would be if you tried to go talk to all these people on your own, or send somebody like Paul to do it?
Oh, if I tried to do it on my own, it would be a complete flop. I mean, that'd be like Dennis Rodman trying to win a scoring title. It just ain't gonna happen. You know, I'm Dennis. And I make relation is because
Right.
Paul's correct in what I'm saying. In what he's saying is, I'm all about my business. I'm the Dennis Rodman. I'm the defender. I'm the blocker. I'm that stable force under the net. Now he's like he is like Michael Jordan. He's the one that's going on the offense. He's analyzing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden he's sinking the shot. I'm just there to catch the rebound.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's a good way to put it, Paul.
And that's exactly, and that's, I have no qualms in anything that Paul has provided me to this point in the service that I'm anticipating, and the value alone right now is worth it. I mean, like I said, I mean, the conversations that me and him have had, the information he's provided, I'm already it feels like I'm already light years ahead of what we see going on in the market, and then what can be beneficial to me as a small carrier.
Yeah. Right. It's fun. I like how you put that, because I could work on these tasks all day, every day for a year to try to get this accomplished. Or it's like I got the cheat code to a video game, you know, and now just suddenly here I am.
Yeah, I don't have the temperament. I don't have the temperament, nor do I have the patience to probably do or have the conversation that Paul and him have. I don't. I would get highly frustrated. But the fact that he's able to arm me with that information, it calms me. It keeps, it changes that. It changes that whole dynamic. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I think a lot of frustration comes from as a small carrier when you do try to do it on your own without the proper information, is that you get frustrated because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you don't know it, and by then it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. Yeah.
So,
and I think too that one of the things I want to put out there too, which I appreciate you guys, everything that you guys say. You guys are definitely about your business, and so with us doing our end of it, there's a part that the carrier plays, and you guys are so really into it. Give an example, like with Adam. When we presented him with what we came up with, I mean, he was ready to go. Regardless of how maybe nervous he was or what have you, he did that part, right? And that part is so valuable in terms of taking it to the next level. So when you guys are saying what you're saying, there's a goal that you guys have in mind, something that you want to accomplish, right? And we have those conversations in regards to what it is that you want to do, why you're in business, and like for you, James, there's video out there in regards to, your story. You know what I'm saying? So people get to see that and get to see what James is all about. So it makes it definitely, I always say this to my salespeople: have fun with the calls that you make, right? And I explain that to them, when they're on the call. But with what you guys are doing, it's fun to work with clients and those that want to grow, right? And have that ambition and take it to the next level and see that growth happening. So when you talk about, James, all this valuable information that you're getting, and then the next thing is having those conversations, that's going to be a next level of growth for you, right? And so we're going to be working to get there and go beyond. So it keeps it exciting for us when our clients are really, really into it. So I appreciate you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And speaking to that too, you talked about, you have to doing your part, or you're being ready to go. If you're a carrier and you're trying to just dabble in this and see what's up, and you're not maybe ready to, there is a part you have to do. Like, you have to deliver.
Yep.
Once they have these conversations, get you going with somebody, like, you have to deliver. And if like, don't promise anything you can't deliver. If you're saying I have one truck and you want to haul some freight for them, you need to haul some freight for them. Like, don't just make the connection, sign up the deal, and not do anything, because you're hurting yourself.
Yeah.
And you have, and a lot of it, and like you said, the whole thing about it is you don't want to dabble in it. I think that's one of the things that I was clear with Paul with, is I'm not coming into this dabbling. He can't do what he does best unless you're honest and transparent with him. And if you come in and say, oh, I can run 50 loads a month, but, come to find out you're only a one truck operation. And then, like he says, he's going to vet you. He's going to see your information. He's going to see all that stuff. And he nails you that big, they land a customer, they bring a customer to you and you can't provide it. No, you've got to be honest with yourself. Number one. Number two, you got to be honest and transparent with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have, like for you, James, there's a lot of, opportunity. The market that you have indicated, you want us to be operating in. So it gives us an opportunity to look at that and look at it honestly, between you and us, and see what that market looks like, right? And so the market that you've indicated that you want to be in, that you're in, it's a hot market, it's a good market. Yeah. Right? So,
but with that said, also, I think that I presented you something that's like, I think we talked about it, is that me as a carrier, I've presented you a unique small carrier,
right.
But I've given you markets that are not necessarily small to play in either. And,
right.
And that's what I'm interested to see how it's going to turn out.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's going to be, it's definitely going to be interesting and fun. And so we'll, in regards to those shippers that we do bring to you, at that point, it's going to be a situation where we coach you along, let you know what's going on with this shipper and what have you, all the information that we have. At the same time, you also, and I think you've gone into your account, right? And looked at.
I have not gone in for a couple of days because I've been out on the road. So
right.
But I did go in, and like I said, I see you guys do everything you say. I see the emails with the the initial conversations and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not followed up and into the email, so that's on me. So
yeah. But as far as that goes, that gives you have 24/7 access to that, so you can go in at any point in time and check that out, whether it's on your cell phone, tablet, laptop, or tablet, or desktop, and see those conversations that we're having. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do anything. I mean, you can respond, hey, Paul, I was wanting to inquire about this or that, or, this call and what have you. Otherwise, at that point, you're kind of waiting for us to come back and say, hey, we've got these appointments, for you to reach out to, or for us to call together, and follow up. I don't know if Michelle is out there, but I think Adam, you may have talked to Michelle, and Michelle, we've generated or developed a lot of conversations for her. And, she's on it. I mean, after the first couple ones, she's like, all I got to do is send her, hey, this is who you need to talk to. This is what it's all about. And she's good to go, So we definitely will coach from that point, to making having the contact with the shipper. So, yeah, we're all good.
Yeah, James, I don't know, we obviously know of each other and we've never really had a conversation. I don't know where you're wanting to go in the future, but just in what you've dealt with so far, because I've experienced this, and when all of a sudden the light bulb goes off, when you start you get a customer, to the point where you're hauling freight for them, everything's kind of moving along naturally. And for me, a light bulb kind of went off to where I'm like, and I've had this conversation with Paul when he's like, what else can I do for you? And I'm like, I'm kind of set. Like, I could see myself where I'm at, dealing with these small handful of customers, being at 50 trucks, 80 trucks, 100 trucks. Like, there's a point where you're like, okay, all right, this is how this happens. This is how this works. This is how you get to that point. Is there any thoughts or desires on your behalf to go that route, or have you thought that way yet?
No, yeah. I mean, I think about that all the time. I mean, I'm sure that every time I talk to Paul, that kind of comes up. I don't see myself putting a cap on myself. The Bulls analogy is a great one. I don't see myself putting a cap on it. It's kind of like a good analogy. When the day the Bulls drafted Michael Jordan, they had nobody else on that team, right? Jordan was the foundation. So Paul kind of is that point. Remember last time we talked about this, I was on your show, we were talking, is that I felt like my carrier was at the cusp, at that tipping point, that I needed to make a decision. I needed to go in that direction. So you steered me in this direction, kind of lined me up. And yeah, Paul and his company are like the Jordan. Now we're getting to that point of, now you start drafting and bringing in the support players and stuff like that. And that comes on me. Learning what Paul's doing, seeing the process, analyzing the information that he's sending me, and then it turns into a wash, rinse, and repeat kind of scenario. And I see myself taking that handful of customers that's going to come out of this, growing with that, but then turning it into a dynasty. You know, and that's how I see it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It seems as like 3 months ago, it seemed like the impossible. And I'm just talking, I'm just thinking out loud here.
Right.
But now it's like, I haven't gone even thinking it's possible. It just seems kind of natural. Like, it's okay. She gives me freight at Hollet. There's really no big drama. Like there's a lot of times too much drama that comes with dealing with a brokerage with a broker. It's not always like that. It just seems like a natural fit sometimes when you get with the right people, and that's kind of how it feels.
When you move to this side of it and you deal with, you know, with what Paul provides, and then what I'm seeing with the direct customers and stuff, is that you don't have the strings attached like you do with a broker. It's no nonsense. It's a business relationship that can be fed, it can be nurtured, and it can grow. As long as you perform as a carrier and you're fair on both sides of it, you provide the service that shipper wants, it's going to grow. You can do that all day long with a broker, and they, you know, it's cutthroat. They're just going to say, nope, I'm going to go, you know, we're going to go find the cheaper truck or the cheaper carrier. Here, the value you provide as a small carrier is going to be weighed and measured, and that's going to keep you in the game.
Right.
Yeah. And it seems a lot of times, like in dealing with brokers, there's a lot of guarded information. When you're dealing direct with a shipper, it's like all the information is just out there.
Absolutely.
You know? So that really helps.
Yeah, I definitely will say that, like right now, the way the market is, it's definitely a good time to get in communication with shippers, right? And they're willing to communicate with, say, small shipper or carriers, right? And then with that, how do I navigate that as a small shipper, right? Or carrier? I apologize. As a small carrier. So right now, it's a great opportunity to have those conversations and set yourself up for the future. It's like you're investing right now, right?
Yes.
You're investing in your future. So right now, it's like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to learn, an open door for me to get my foot in there and try to navigate and find out about shippers, find out information that I didn't know before, right?
Yes.
So, you know, whether we're talking about a broker or not, again, I think that we're always going to communicate with brokers, right? And have them in our lives in some capacity. But at the same time, what you're talking about is diversifying your portfolio of clients and being able to see be able to dream bigger, be able to see the opportunity to grow, right? And so it just opens the door and takes away those, I'm not going to say challenges, I'll say fear, because challenges are always going to be there. Those are the things that we want to tackle. We want to tackle those challenges, and that's going to make us that much better. And not only that, when you think about your team, right, however that looks in the future, you're going to be that much better for your team, right? And so when you tell a shipper, hey, this is what we can do, this is what we can't do, this is based upon your experiences, right, that you have gone through. But you can't have those experiences if you don't take that step forward, right? And that's what we're talking about now, is being able to take the step forward and get some confidence, experience some things, and that's going to allow you to grow. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Hopefully.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, James. I mean, where are you at now, James? Where are you at?
I'm all the way down outside of Greensboro, North Carolina.
North Carolina? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. You're gonna be heading back to the Midwest, or?
Yeah, I'm getting an Amsoil filtration system put on my truck tomorrow morning, and then I'm headed right back to the Midwest to catch up in the office for a day or so, and then probably just bounce around Kansas City, St. Louis, and you know where I'm gonna bounce around at. I mean, we talked about
it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
well, you guys aren't all that far apart from each other, are you?
Oh no. Me, I'm trying to schedule it. I'm trying to get a time where I can take Paul out to dinner and stuff. I mean, what he's done already for me, just the information he's provided me.
I'm insanely jealous.
The interpretation is crazy. Yeah.
I'm like a jealous ex-girlfriend.
Well, you can come along. Don't worry.
Hey, Paul, there's an introduction I want to make to you. Do you mind if I bring another gentleman in here to?
No,
I
go
need,
ahead.
I need y'all two to meet, and he's going to want to talk to you. So
Yeah,
this is Eric.
I'm gonna move my blinds here real quick because the sun is coming up real quick.
Yeah, Eric, the great Freight Sage Logic in here. Thanks for jumping in. This is like kind of a natural introduction here. We're networking, building some connections, and
This is good.
DIY is my sales force here. He's making my contacts.
Hey, that's what it's all about, right?
I know. I'm going to get you that bow tie.
There you go. There you go.
Nice.
So, Paul is probably not too familiar. Introduce yourself, Eric, and tell him all about you. Do you know Spectre? You know Eric here?
Yeah, we know each other.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So basically, I've been a broker for over 14 years. I do over-dimensional freight now, but I was also a carrier and stuff like that. So what I'm kind of doing on with my YouTube channel is teaching carriers how to get their brokerages and showing them that even if you just have one truck or two trucks or three trucks, having that access to the brokerage, one, if something goes wrong, you can repower the freight and not have to give it back to the customer. But two, it gives you that potential to say, okay, I can cover 5 loads and I got 2 buddies that can cover the other 2 loads. And now you can satisfy that customer's needs.
Yeah.
And where I think what your opportunity is great is because it's one of those things that the biggest things carriers are coming to me usually is saying, my end of teaching the brokerage end and making sure that covering themselves and doing that properly and understanding of what getting the insurance. The hardest part for them to get is the sales aspect of it. So what you're doing for carriers, just saying, look, I'm going to hook you up with the customers. I'm going to get you your customers. I am now your sales force to be able to bring customers in, I think is a huge benefit to what I'm even trying to do, is just to get them to the point where if you want to grow, you need that brokerage with that carrier. You've got to have that, and it's like I teach them, is you've got to have that foundation of that carrier, that good foundation to build your brokerage up on. Right. Because I did it all last week. I did a couple times last week, and all I did was 3 sentences, basically. I sent to a couple customers. And all I said was, because I'm partnered with a carrier. I'm the logistics department. And all I said is, I don't give a quote unless I have a truck. I can guarantee you a truck, and I do all my quoting in-house. I sent like 12 emails and got 6 responses back saying, go ahead, let's quote this, and even moved the load. So just the fact that you're selling these carriers, I truly see the industry moving from, I'm going to use names, and they can call me and yell at me, the C.H. Robinsons with no trucks, to people like a sales force like you, to carriers who do have trucks, because carriers want the driver to come in there, and if there's a problem, they want to be able to look that driver in the face and say, what happened here? And where they're not getting that from the C.H. Robinson. So I think that the potential that you're giving them with that access to that, to the hard part of this is monstrous.
I think, for what I'm hearing, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, not only is he just doing that, Eric, but the thing, the value that he's providing on top of it, just in the analytics and the proper interpretation of that alone,
right?
Of that, what's going on is you can't put a price on it. You really can't, because like Adam said a little bit ago, I've got FreightWaves. I've looked at their stuff, and a lot of times when I was trying to interpret it, I was like, what the hell am I looking at? How is this properly interpreted? And then when Paul said it, and when Paul sent it and described it, it was like, aha! It was like that light bulb, like what Adam mentioned. It was that light bulb moment. You're like, oh, okay. And then the fact of how he packages, the company. Like for me, how he's packaged the company to sell the company. And then it's like, okay, there's no way I could do this. No way I could do it. None.
Right. And that's a huge, I think that's what brings what he, and I can sell the guy. I can sell you in a heartbeat. What he's basically doing is he's saying, look, I'm going to take the owner operator and I'm going to make him a carrier. And then I'm going to make him a business owner. And then I'm going to make him a professional carrier in this field.
Bingo.
And that's how he brings the people up. Because he says, okay, Here's the information that you're looking at. Let me break the matrix down. Bloop, 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 zeros and ones, zeros and ones. And then he says, okay, now that you understand the matrix, I'm going to take you to the customer. And I'm going to kind of explain probably what you do. I'm going to kind of explain what the customer's needs are, what they're looking for. And then from there, it's like, okay, now it's your job to interact with the customer. Here's how. Here's the gist of it.
Yeah.
But just be yourself and understand that this is, now that you understand that all of this.
Yeah.
So it's taking people from, I just want to be an owner operator, I just want to be a carrier, to now I'm becoming a professional, an industry. I'm becoming a business and working. And like I talk about in mine, this is one of the largest industries in the world. It truly is. Roads and railroads were built for it. The roads were built for it. Ships and boats. Sometimes you got to find the people that know how to do that and bring that to you, and then you carry it on from there. And I just see that's what you're giving the people. Yeah. And this is from a broker. I'm a broker. I still have a brokerage. Yeah. And I'm that broker that other brokers don't like, but still, it's that type of thing that I truly believe the industry is going. We're going back to the record player here. So I truly feel that we're going back to service over price. And once that you can see that, you can grasp that and run with it.
Yeah. I think when you talk about that, you're talking about service over price. It's when we talk about a shipper and what they're paying for. Yeah, they're paying to get that freight moved, right? But the value that a carrier brings, right? It's beyond we're not talking just the rate. You want to be a partner. You know what I'm saying? In terms of being a partner, you've got to start talking about what is expected of the shipper. What are they looking for? What do they need? And things of that nature. And when you can bring connect the dots in that way, you have woven yourself into their system or what they do and what have you. And they look at you as, I'd rather work with you, pay you a little bit more money, right? Then go out here and just get anyone to move it at this low rate. Now there are some industries that don't care. They just
correct.
It's like whatever, just move it, recycle stuff or whatever the case might be. But we just need the cheapest rate. But obviously that is not fitting. What fits you. So there's a lot of opportunity that does exist, but you've got to get yourself to that point of being, as you say, Eric, that professional. Right. And that's what's going to attract.
Eric did a video not too long ago. I think the title of it was "Carriers Stop Running Your Business Like a Lemonade Stand."
Oh, wow.
And what he's trying to, and that's what made me think of putting you two together, because Paul's trying to teach the same thing, and it seems like a natural fit. You should, like Eric, welcome to have Paul on your show, and Paul, I hope you do, because it'll give you some more exposure. But you're kind of on that same page there, kind of coming at it from a different angle, different sides. But there's a lot of common ground there, and I think that these conversations can do a lot of good.
Absolutely.
Well,
for everybody.
It goes back to I think we all are trying to teach that and show that from different angles. Is kind of like what you said. It goes back to, you don't want to dabble when you get to this step.
Correct.
Okay. Eric is teaching about, when he's talking about not running your business like a lemonade stand. And then one of the things I always harp on is that the thing that seems to be forgotten with a lot of, as they call them, independent contractors or single truck authority owners and owner operators, is you are a business and you have to separate yourself personally from that business. And that seems to be the forgotten step when they want to get to the point to somebody like Paul and what his company offers to get the direct shippers, is because now they're stuck at the lemonade stand. Okay. Right. I have to keep selling, 25-cent cups of juice just to keep getting through because I don't know how to get there.
They won't even stop calling themselves an owner operator.
That's the step.
Yeah.
Right.
They won't even stop calling themselves an owner operator. They're a carrier.
I don't even like that term. When you hear me talk about my, I always say, I'll use the term contractors every so often, but what I prefer to say, and Paul's heard me say it too, is I am partnered with 6 other business owners. And that's what I tell him. And he was like, well, what do you mean? And Eric, you're going to like this one. I told him, my exact words to him were, I feel like my carrier is uniquely built because I have 2 companies partnered with me who are team trucks that there's nowhere in this country, with me being based out of the Midwest, that we can't provide service with a day and a half to 2 days.
Golden.
And he was
Golden.
like, that's kind of interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's where I look at, my business is a problem solving business. That's where my value is. I'm a problem solver because I can move like an expedite company with team trucks and have solo trucks in the Midwest supporting them.
Yeah.
And that's the value that I think a lot of business owners, forget, is when you get into this industry and you want to grow, is what value can you provide to sell yourself? And that's the value that I think I can allow Paul to help sell me.
Right.
That's I think that's a step that is forgotten.
Yeah, and I think that's where I say you want to be the woman in the red dress. You don't want to be the one wearing all the same clothes. You want to be like the Matrix, that woman in the red dress. You want to stand out.
Yeah.
And I just think, and another thing too is wasn't mentioned. I did want to mention was when you do get these customers, when he gets you these customers, it's not all about, oh, I'm going to get more money now. No, what you actually want to look at that customer is, well, now I can take more money and then I can cut the broker out. You might be getting the exact same money, but the difference is you're now building something that will stay with you. I mean, I've had the same customers for 12 years.
Yes.
Nice.
The same one that has basically fed me, and they have grown to a monstrous company, and they took me with them.
Right.
So I went from a single business. They were bought by a monstrous business, and they took me with them. And I'm talking Fortune 500 company bought them. And here I am, a one-man show, and they're like, we want him. He's coming with us. And I had to jump through a couple hoops. They found me a way to get through, and they found me that was huge. And I explain this a lot too. It's you eventually get to where you want to work with them, not for them. That's how I look at it. And you get to the point where I've said this on my show is I've had customers come to me and say, look, I don't even know what we pay you. I just know it's worth it. And that's where you want to be, because when something ain't worth it, you know exactly how much it costs.
Right.
But when you get to the point that your service is endless, just like Adam's doing, and his service is now becoming endlessly important because he handles problems well. He doesn't flip out. He doesn't, he says, okay, let's figure out how we can fix this problem. Some of your stuff's going bad. Eventually, he might go in there and say, let's see where this is going bad. And let's see if I can help you determine if it's, en route, if it's on the trucks, because I see that I've been in this industry so long. And now you're more to that company than just a truck. You're an invaluable person that can go in and say, well, let me explain to you what's going on in the trucking side, and maybe we can fix this between the two of us. And then you're working with them, not for them. And that's where I push myself, I got to the point where I could almost sell the items that my customer were making because I moved so many of them. People thought I sold them, and they started calling me to get quotes on those items.
Wow,
which was fiberglass tanks. And they're like, I'm like, no, I don't sell them. Next thing I know, they're like, oh yeah, you can sell them. You just get this information and we'll let you sell them. I'm like, all right, whatever. That's where, if you want to push your company, you hire somebody, you bring somebody in. Sales is monstrous. I mean, you have CEOs, and the next people in the line is your sales department because they make you money. They don't cost you money. They make you money.
Yeah.
And if you have someone like Paul that's just going to say, I can do your sales for you. Pay me this much and I can get you a couple customers. Okay. Yeah. Let's see what happens. And then when he does it, and then you get you have a trucking company where you have a brokerage where you can tell the customer, well, we have 6 loads, but we only have 4 trucks, but I got 2 guys that I'll vouch for. Yeah. Because, admit it, Spectre, if you vouch for 2 guys, they're going to be 2 good guys, right? Or you're going to be showing up at their house saying, look, we have a conversation. Yeah. So, customer would be like, thank you. You just solved my problem again.
Well,
good.
Yeah. Paul, you mind if I talk about that little scenario that you were mentioning to me about DHL?
Now it's out there, so
we were talking all around it, but it's out there.
Everything but mentioning the name, Spectre.
Yeah. Maybe not them.
Oh,
You can
my
talk
bad.
about this.
Well, okay,
other,
my bad.
Let's
Okay.
let's
Some
talk about another
company.
unnamed company.
Yeah, some company. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of dropped. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's all right.
But yeah,
Allegedly,
see,
allegedly.
that's not allegedly. Yeah, I mean, but that's just it. Is that that's the stuff he brings that's unique to a sales team as people approach them with problems like that. And it's like he can approach us smaller, like us. He works with people like us, just like us, and all sorts of other smaller carriers that want to work with him to provide that solution. Where's the issue at? And that's the value in this. And there's no way that a small carrier like myself or even, Adam or anybody could probably even hire a sales team and develop them over the course of 50 years. There's just no way you could do that.
No.
By the time you got to that point, you'd probably be out of business.
Yeah. Well, I definitely tell you what, I mean, everything that you guys are talking about, one of the things is, I mean, I'm just looking at the four of us on right now, and the conversation that we're having. I've been having these conversations one-on-one for years, but hearing it on this scale, and then I'm sure there's others that are listening, there can be such a major opportunity, for not those that are just in the business, but those that are looking to get into the business. You know what I'm saying? There are those that are interested in getting into the business, and when they get into the business, is that they've heard somebody talk about, oh, get into trucking, you can make money, Well, it's easy to get everything filed, right? And it's easy to get the truck and all that good stuff and get set up. But after that, finding the loads, that becomes the challenge, right? And continually keep your truck running. So that's a conversation that you need to have, but it's a mystery, because everybody's talking, but everybody's saying a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But my point is that here, we're talking about these things, and this is great to be able to exchange information, and we can definitely get deeper with things and even develop connections, right? That can help develop a network, something we could develop to where we can be of benefit to these shippers. You know what I'm saying? The alleged shipper that Spectre brought up. There's something that we could develop. There's something that we can develop. Alleged. There's some things that we could develop here, I think, that could be a benefit. Adam, you and I talked about, there are carriers that are looking to grow, and they're looking to, they need drivers. We talked about that earlier. There may be opportunities where, you guys know of drivers, right, in certain areas, and maybe there is a carrier in a certain area that they could hook up together. You know what I'm saying? It becomes a marketplace for carriers and shippers, or carriers and drivers to be able to hook up. So this conversation is great because this industry is so fragmented. But if there is where we can put something together where we can synergize and communicate with each other and, really help each other, I think, we could really see some amazing things happen. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how my mind thinks.
No, it makes perfect sense. You just kind of said in a beautiful, eloquent way of I think a lot of things. Like I said, one of the biggest thing I say is it's easy to get into the trucking industry on this level. The hardest part is to create longevity and keep it and stay. At some point, you have to make this next move where you come in. A company just like you and what you do comes in. If not, you're going to have to develop it on your own. And it's hard to develop it on your own as a small carrier with the competition you have to deal with dealing with brokers every day. And it's you if you want to get to that point, to the next level, which is way here, you've got to make that step. If not, you're going to be stuck at the lemonade stand, or you're just going to go out of business when season's end.
I'd love to have a conversation with you because I definitely see an ability to network, and from what you're doing and from what I'm doing, it's just that aspect there, because it's like I said, it's one of those things that it builds wealth. Getting direct customers builds wealth in your company. You know what I mean? And it allows a carrier to do more things. Now you could possibly get a dedicated run, and you could bring a driver on that wants a dedicated run. And when you bring direct customers to your carrier, eventually it's worth something. You're getting wealth and depth into that rather than just hoping for that broker to be able to be, a good enough provider for you. And brokers come and brokers go. And then it comes down to it, they'll bump you out of there. Once you're in a customer like me, once you're in there and you've provided problem solving situations, they don't want to look for another one because it's like hiring a new person. The most, it costs a lot of money to hire. Keeping somebody retention is cheaper than constantly hiring new people and retraining them and doing this.
It's like trying to break in a new husband or wife. It's like, I just, I'll just keep the husband I got because I got him trained.
Exactly.
Notice how I put that all on me,
Yeah, and this is where, like I said, so once you're in there, it's if you do a good job, they're going to want to keep you there because finding another you could be difficult and time consuming.
Yes. And they're not in the business of that. They're in the big business of making and shipping widgets.
Exactly.
You solve their problem. You do a good job. You do it for a fair price. They're not going to look to replace you. And when somebody comes, try and challenge your throne, they're going to be like, why? Like this guy does.
Those phone calls happen all the time with me. And they're like, we've been working with this dude for 12 years and never had a problem. You're coming in 12 minutes and you think we're just going to take you?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It happens. So that's where you have wealth. Now, will a broker do that? No, a broker will not. You know what I mean? They will dump you if the minute one itty bitty thing goes wrong. They'll find, or if they can find a cheaper way to do it. But a customer will keep and possibly pay to keep you to do it because they understand the changing and the retraining and all this other stuff. Yeah, waste time.
Yeah. I think you hit that, right on the head, and that there's so much that can go into it. Do you have, even as talking about as a carrier, even, I mean, when you find an opportunity and then you start moving freight for them, bring your A game. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's definitely going to help you. It's going to help you grow. It's going to help you know who you are, what you're all about, and you got into this business for a reason, right? So, bring your A game and you'll see it happen. I mean, for you're talking about you're moving freight for clients for 12 years or more, same client. You got to be doing something right for that to happen. One of the things I tell a lot of our clients is this, when they have that conversation about rates, remember that if you live by the rate,
you die by the rate.
Thank you. You're going to die by the rate.
You know what I mean? Right off the bat. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that thing right there is, you want to get off of that conversation and look for other opportunities. What is it that they need? What is it they're trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish? And become, as James says, talking about being a partner.
Right.
You see what I mean? So when we start getting to that conversation and that level of talk, the dynamics change, and you start to look at your company in a different way. Or maybe you look at your company in a different way, and then your conversation becomes different, right? And you start becoming this company, this business, not I'm an owner operator, no. I mean, you think about it. Let's say even owner operator. Just look at that word, owner. Okay, right? We get it. Operator. Right. I think we get that. Now you put the two together. Now me working with you as an owner operator, where you're calling the shots, but you're running the company and things like that. It's you. It's you that we're talking about. And this is how I see your company. When I compare you to another company, whatever they want to call themselves, right? You're still in competition, regardless of the title or the name that you call yourself. You're in competition with these other companies that are out there, right? So you're being compared, right? Now, this company might have a lot of freight, and it's like, you're buying for their business, but it's in a different lane. But at the same time, how are you going to stay in the game? What is your name worth? How do they see you? What do they title you as? Do they title you as a shipper or a carrier of choice? I think you want to get to that point, being a carrier of choice. This is the carrier that we choose. This is who we choose based upon the way their business is being operated. You know what I mean? So you really got to dig deep in what do you want to be, and become that.
And I think it says a lot for Paul, and this is something else to think of, is that first contact with that company, with that customer, with that shipper, with that receiver, whoever it is. You're going to want that first contact to be a professional person, like Paul's company is obviously doing, if he's getting this, because that first contact might be the only contact you get.
Yes.
So you're going to go with somebody
Exactly.
that does this for a living, like a Freight Connect is important, because you might not have another opportunity. And if the person that knows how to get in the door does it right and sets you up right, he's setting you up for success, because he wants you to succeed, because he wants more people to say, oh, use this guy, and that's an important thing to remember, because I have seen a lot of people go in and they've only gotten one shot. And after that, it's like, you're not getting another shot. So it's important to, military, it's important who you send in first to make sure that the rest of the guys can come in safely. You send the best, right? Spectrum, no, you send the best crew in to make sure that you can move everybody out of there.
Yeah.
And I think this isn't something else, that another service you're providing, because if you're getting these customers like this way, you're obviously doing it in a professional manner, that they're saying, yeah, well, listen, let me see who you're bringing in. And that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. If you don't know it or not, trust me, someone who's called customers and dealt with that, it's a huge deal for someone to say, yeah, I'm listening. Let me see what you got.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not attached to the company, if they're an outside company, basically saying that's impressive, to be honest.
Yeah. It's so funny, because I talked to someone just, I don't know, a week ago, I think, and we were talking about how to, as a matter of fact, no, it was actually it was a training session with my people, and we were talking about how within that first 30 seconds, that first minute or what have you, our approach will determine how the rest of the conversation can go. You know what I mean? And in terms of, it's not a matter of just how long you stay on the phone with someone, but it is about, gaining their interest to be able to go to the next step. And I recall many years ago when I made a lot of calls, a lot of shippers would say, okay, you know what, I don't have time, or I don't normally take these calls, or whatever. What ended up happening was, it's like, okay, fine, I'm not gonna take up much of your time, and we go into it. We end up being on the phone for half an hour or longer, and it's because of the approach that we initially took, when we engaged right there, that first call, and they would tell us, I did not plan to be on this call this long. I don't normally take these calls. I don't normally be on these calls. I'm not on these calls this long. But, and then they'll explain why they stayed on the call. And it was always our approach. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you're absolutely right. I mean, whether it's we make the call or someone else make the call, and this is one of the things that we work to train our clients to, is how to have that conversation so that you can not just stay on the phone for a long time, but talk about other things that rate, things that are meaningful. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's key. I think, you're right on the mark with that, Eric.
Yeah. And it's I did. And like I said, it's, I know I could talk forever, and I even have a show. I'm going to push back my show, but it's one of those, I did a video because remember, this is not an easy thing. This is why I would suggest everybody contact Paul, because I did a video about this. If you can't sell a pen to someone holding a pen, that's about what you're doing in this industry.
Yeah.
Because everybody possibly already has a transportation company, and here's another one. Try selling a pen to a dude holding a pen.
Right.
And I did that a video. I sold a pen to somebody holding a pen.
Nice.
So if you can't do that, find someone who can, because it only takes one customer. It could only take one customer, and you're done. I mean, you could have so much business because they have sister companies, and then they're recommending you to their receivers and who hold your freight. I need to, call this guy. And next thing you know, it's like spiraling out of control. I don't even have a website anymore.
I'm living it.
There you go.
And Spectre's about to, it's going to happen for
what
you.
You asked for, Spectre. Trust me.
Yeah. And you're going to have a whole separate set of problems. You're going to, but they're good problems to have.
But see the thing, they're absolutely. I look forward to these kind of problems. It's that's why I said I felt like my carrier was at the point where I needed a whole new set of problems. The problems I was dealing with were getting old and redundant. Now I need a whole new set of problems that are going to push me forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
and
I
Eric,
feel it. I do.
Yeah.
I feel it coming.
yeah, Eric, everything you just said, like I've been saying about Paul too, and I needed somebody else to say it. It's
Yeah.
It was not we did not
Yeah.
rehearse this at all,
No.
Paul. This is my own
No.
separate opinion, just so you know.
because I don't Paul does not pay me to do these, first of all, and I do it because it needs to be out. Like I said before, like there's only a handful of people in this industry not right now changing things and putting out this kind of value and this kind of information. You could hold them all in the palm. You probably count them on one or two hands. This is one of them, but just the other ones are loud and get their point out there and their voice out there. Not enough people have heard of Paul, so
Absolutely.
whatever I have to do to change that. I'm one guy with this YouTube channel. That's all I got.
I'm looking for Paul to grow, and then people say, "Hey, I need a brokerage. I need to talk to that great freight guy, and he'll teach me how to get a little brokerage." Because Paul's got so many customers for me. Let's
Right.
do it.
Right.
There you go.
Absolutely.
All right. Well,
Absolutely.
yeah. On top of that, like I said, the value Paul provides is the information that is currently out there is old. It's outdated. It's the hey,
Right.
go knock on the doors, do cold calls, go do all that stuff. When you said it earlier, Adam, is that tech is changing that for smaller carriers. So why not allow Michael Jordan here to use his tech and push us small carriers to that next level to continue to level that playing field? If not, swing it in our favor. Because like Paul said, one of the first things Paul told me when we got on the phone was that a lot of the shippers he's been dealing with or talking to want to come back to the smaller carrier because of the level of service that we provide versus the bigger carriers.
Right. And then, like Eric has said too, about the cold calling, like you said, you have no business cold calling somebody if you have nothing to deliver them.
Yeah, I have a problem with brokers who don't have trucks, who have nothing but a load board, and they call a customer. To me, they're only worth the price of the load board a month. If that's what you're doing, you have no foundation. And there's a difference between a con man and a salesman. A con man sells you something but has nothing. A salesman has something to sell you, and that's, to me, you need that. And brokers are going to get pissed off at me. I don't care. But you need that to sell, because that's what you're selling. And that's where I get upset.
Yeah, and that's exactly.
And anybody that's watching, if you are going to call Paul, be like, he's going to go out and sell you, like the customers. Don't make him look, please, you're not helping anybody or yourself.
Yeah.
Don't make him look bad. Like, if he goes out and sells your company, live up. He's gonna sell you, exactly how you want him to. Don't make promises you can't keep, number one, because you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting all of us, and you're also hurting Paul. And do what you say you're gonna do for the price you say you're gonna do it. And every once in a while, you're gonna take an L. You're gonna take a little hit. Don't make a big deal out of every little thing. Keep an eye on the bigger picture for the long term. And Paul isn't going to go out and say, I got the best carrier in the world for you here, the best you need to do business with. He's going to say, hey, I have this company with this equipment, maybe this number of trucks. Here's what they're trying to do. They're trying to grow their carrier. They're trying to find a partner to grow with, grow together. And, we kind of agree on the concept, under promise, over deliver. So whatever he sells you on, go above and beyond that. Deliver more than he and you promised them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're definitely talking about a strategy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a lot of people, again, get into the business and have an idea of what they want to do or have this dream, and that's great. And then once you get into it, you start seeing different things, and it's like, okay, this thing is kind of overwhelming. But the key thing is develop your strategy. Put together a strategy, look at it in a smart way. And for us, we'd love to talk to you about that. But however you do it, put together that plan and work that plan. Again, that's something we can talk to you about and all that good stuff. But right now, again, strategically, it's a hot market, right? So how do you operate in that? And not just to the point of making a whole bunch of money right now, but looking down the road. into 2022. Is that 2020? These years are flying by so fast. It's hard to keep up, but
Next year.
Yeah, what did you say, Eric?
I'm at a point where I just call it next year because I don't even know what year we're in.
So next year,
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a thing of being strategic in that way, so good things are happening, and don't allow the time to go by so fast that you wonder where it went. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And find yourself in the same position that you were in before. You definitely want to advance, and that's what we hope to help you do.
Absolutely. And why don't you give out your contact information, Paul, one more time? So I got your banner scrolling here, but people can't necessarily see the screen.
Yeah, no problem. The website is www.fr8, that's the digit 8, connect.com. You can reach out to me at 866-342-0040, extension 109. And then email Paul, Paul.k @fr8connect.com. So either way, you can get a hold of us.
Okay, now let me tell you, Paul. So you understand what's going on here. How my live streams usually go. Things usually peter out. We have a really good crowd right now.
Oh,
people are hanging in there. The numbers aren't dropping. People are wanting to hear what you have to say and these other gentlemen have to say. Yeah. I mean, if there's anything you want to talk about or say, you are welcome to it. I don't want to hold you any longer than you want to. Yeah. Maybe at a certain point beating a dead horse, but it's people are listening. The numbers are hanging. Nothing has dropped off. So I mean, it's your game right now. Yeah, no, I will say this. I mean, that's I'm excited for that. Definitely, I'd love to have conversations, and even more so one-on-one, because, we can talk about your individual markets and things like that. I mean, when we look at the market, there are some areas that are hot. I'm sure, Eric's aware of that. James knows about his market and things like that. And he and I have had conversations. We looked at that. We sent James over, all this information. I hope it wasn't too confusing for him, but we went over it, and talked about those specific markets. And like he said, the light bulbs went out. When he said that, man, I just get elated inside because of that. I used to be in front of a lot of different people and some kids as well, and teaching them certain things. But when those light bulbs would go off, man, it's so worth it. You know what I mean? Because then you start to see other possibilities. You know what I mean? So, I mean, for these people that are online, whether they have a company or whether they're thinking about getting into the industry, I'd love to have those conversations with them. There are, bigger and brighter things that, we can do collectively, more so than individually. And out in PA, with Michelle and Jamie out there, they're working to make some things happen. They'd love to connect with people and try to, provide driver opportunities as well. And, there's just so many things. So as far as what I would like to talk about, man, it's definitely not my show. And what I mean by that is that it's more so of what the people want to talk about. The carriers want to talk about what are they interested in? What are they, those are the things that I want to talk about, is what they want to talk about. You've been around. What year did you start doing this? I got involved in transportation in 2001. So sales, just Freight Connect in general. Oh, Freight Connect. 2000. We started in 2015 is when we started. So it's been 5-6 years or so, and it seems to me like what's kind of happening for you right now is even though you've been in it for this long, this is just in its infancy of where it's gonna go. 100%. Can I share something with you real quick on that? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I've mentioned it before. Uber Freight. There was Uber, and back in 2016, when we were really pushing and talking to a lot of carriers, we would call them just to find out, hey, is there an interest in what we're doing? And there's like, you're trying to be the Uber of the transportation industry, huh? It's like, I don't even know what Uber is. I've never taken an Uber ride before, And so I was like, okay, if so, yeah. And I ended up taking an Uber ride, and I was like, man, yeah, these are the things that we wanted to incorporate within Freight Connect. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then all of a sudden, Uber Freight gets into Uber gets into freight transportation.
And when I saw that happening and I followed them, I was like, this isn't going to work because they don't understand the intricacies of our industry, right?
Right.
And over time, they brought in the right people to figure some things out. They've got the money to do that. But my point is this, you can have these major companies and they're spending a lot of money and they're doing all these great things, and that's fine. For us, we haven't had that type of backing, and there's a lot of things that we've thought of, and then guess what? These big companies do it, right? So right now, with what we do, we're staying true to what we do, and we definitely believe in supporting smaller carriers and what have you, and getting them out there and filling a void that exists. It benefits the carrier and the shipper. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely would love to bring all these things together, the things that we've been thinking of, and really make it I'm not going to say a big thing. When I say big, I mean where a carrier benefits in a major way, whereas they might have been kind of pittering along, and then all of a sudden what we offer them just helps their business grow tremendously, and achieve those dreams that they have. So I'm just excited about the opportunity. And Adam, I really appreciate your channel. I really do. And the opportunity. So
I appreciate what
what
you're
I'm
doing.
hearing, just real quick, what I'm hearing is you want to grow more, right? Is that what you want? Is that what I'm hearing? Challenge accepted. I accept that challenge.
Okay.
I'm on it.
Okay.
Now,
I was
Right?
thinking the same thing.
Same thing, bro.
I mean, he's like,
challenge accepted.
I hear that story. Like you said, what, 2007? So that means that you've been, Freight Connect has been around since the feared 2008 recession. Then we had the drop in 2019, and then of course there was the ungodly economic crash of 2020. Freight Connect as a small business is still here, and what you're doing is you're taking other small businesses in this industry to a completely, you are. That's just you can say, I know you're a humble guy, and I like that about you. That's what one of your best qualities is, that you are so humble in what you do, is the fact that you are catapulting small businesses and carriers like us just to the complete opposite side of the fence. So you got it. Like he said, challenge accepted. If you want to grow, we'll grow with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
You got my support. We'll talk, and we'll see how we can benefit each other. But I accept that challenge. But I did want to mention something that you brought up earlier that you wanted to mention, and I remember was 2 carriers with the same customer, right, Adam?
Yes, we had that question put out.
Okay, if you want to go ahead and.
Yeah. To talk about that. Yeah. I mean, here's the key. I mean, the way I look at it is this. There's right now the volume is so high that there's not enough equipment to move all this freight, right? So I don't even look at that as an issue. That to me, and I don't mean to belittle it, it's just that it's not, if we look at that and stay stuck on that, right, you're missing the bigger picture, right? You have shippers that have freight that move in various directions. You may not be able to move all that freight, right? So you fit in where you can, right? And that's okay. But yet again, you bring your A game, you work to develop a relationship, because you're not going to be the only one that they're working with, right? There's other freight that needs to move. So even if it's the same, I'll give you an example. I mean, this is on a greater scale. Let's say Nestle, right? Nestle Waters is what I'm talking about.
Yep.
They've got so much freight. You can look at the Northeast area. You can look at the Midwest, which is, they do it out of Texas. Then you've got the West, and they do it out of California. So you've got these different regions that they have divided. And then you've got where, as a shipper, you get involved. You have to get involved with each of these different locations for those regions, those individual regions. But there's so much freight. And here's what they would say generally is, what area are you best in, or what lanes do you focus on as a carrier, right?
Right.
So when they come to you with that, right, they don't want to just say, hey, all right, you have to do this or you have to do that. They want to bring you in on a win-win situation. So at that point, there's another carrier that they're talking to. Where can you fit in? What makes sense for you? Where do you fit in with this, right? So for that, why not bring 5 carriers right, to a Nestle because they have needs, right? And you can't cater to all their needs. And so that's okay. So I don't know if I'm answering the question well, but the point is that there's so much opportunity out there. I don't know that that should be a situation to be concerned with. Now, for us, I've not run into that yet, you know, where that's been an issue. So, so I guess when we do run into it, you know, I'll have an answer for you, but it's just so much opportunity that does exist.
Yeah, and I think that's being a broker too. I don't. It's understanding that a traffic manager's job is to manage traffic, and he's going to optimize. If you're in Pennsylvania and he's got stuff going that way, he understands the price you're going to give him is better than somebody who lives in Washington because you don't want to go to Pennsylvania. You'd rather be on this side. So your price might be $10 more than somebody who's willing to run this consistently over and over again. So there's a lot. I mean, there are times that I've gotten quote that's been like and you've probably seen this, 6 pages of lanes that here's the lanes, here's how many times, and even one lane that they could be moving it once a week or they can be moving it 5 days a week.
Absolutely.
So one lane could have a potential of, 10 loads. They're loading 2 of those going. It's like, oh my God. So for the possibility of running into a problem, you have to be dealing with a very smaller customer.
Right.
And I think that what his job is to fill the void of the medium to larger customers and their needs rather than a smaller customer that you might be able to just walk into by yourself. Am I right, Paul? You're kind of dealing with maybe the mid to larger companies because their needs is what you're more optimal working with them than working with somebody that only moves 1 load of widgets a week.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. With our clients, when we're reaching out, we will, look at the area and the market that they want to be focused on, and then what we'll do is we'll pull lead for that market, and we'll reach out to shippers that we've identified that maybe have freight, and we don't know until we make the call. And with that, at that point, it might be that they're moving 0 loads. It might be that it's all customer routed. They might be moving 1 load a week. It might be that they're moving 1,000, a month. So as far as that goes, once we have identified that and had a conversation, done the initial work and what have you, and we do our follow-up, right? So it can vary. It can vary in regards to the shipper. Now, as far as the smaller shipper, again, once you start digging in and finding out their needs, right? Then it might make sense. Hey, let's hook you up with this smaller shipper. You see what I'm saying? And then at the same time, with what Adam had said earlier, there may be something where we've communicated with another client, and it seems like maybe this is a better fit. We have a client that is aboard, and they do more LTL, right? They're out of Arizona, and it's more of the LTL, the box truck, 26-foot box trucks, right? And he's got 11 units. And, he's not necessarily confining himself to Arizona, but, we're going to start in a specific area. And so if I'm talking to someone else in a different area that may make better sense for him, right, as a box truck, why not hook him up, with that company, you see? So it's not set in stone every single call. This is how it's supposed to go. We've kind of have to go with the flow and figure out the shipper and what they're doing, what they're not doing, and what their needs are. And then we go from there in terms of hooking them up, whether they're doing 1,000 loads a month or 10 loads a month. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And if it's only one and that carrier's doing fine, you're not going to send another carrier in there if there's no problem.
Right.
Records of and you keep track of.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, you got it.
No, I think it's great, and I think that what the drivers and carriers have to understand is when freight is booming like this, it's easier to get into that customer, right? So now's the time to jump on it because there's less trucks and more freight. There's more problems for customers.
Yeah.
When things die down again, good luck. So to me, now's the time to jump. Like I said, we've talked about this. The hero of this story is the possibilities of getting your own customers. Right. It's not the money you're getting. The actual hero of this story is being able to get past the gatekeeper, get to the Wizard of Oz, and actually pull the curtain back and say, hey, can I help you pull some of those levers? And that's where you have that chance now. And then, so you want to send in your best soldier to go get that. And in my opinion, you want. I say this all the time. Henry Ford the reporter came to him and said, "Hey, can you tell me about the transmission in this new car?" And he's like, "I got no idea." He's like, "Well, how do you not know?" "Well, I pay that guy to know."
Right.
And at some point, you want to pay that guy to go get the customer, and then you'll handle it from there. And that's how businesses run.
Right.
They delegate. And the ones that try to control everything go out of business.
Yeah, and you said before, challenge accepted. For everybody watching, and we're all guilty of this, all truck drivers and owner-operators, carriers, whatever. Oh, that broker screwed me over. That broker did this. That broker, I hate brokers. I hate this and that. Hey, this is your opportunity, your one chance you're going to have in your life to go do it yourself and cut that broker out of the deal. Are you going to do it?
Right.
It's really is put up or shut up time, because you probably aren't going to get this chance. This chance might last a little while. This might last 6-8 months, a year, maybe longer. Who knows? Nobody has a crystal ball. But here it is. It's on a silver platter right in front of you. So
I know.
You want to complain about it the rest of your life, or you're going to do something about it?
And I'm looking right here, and it's like you got 4 people right here that are giving out information you might never heard before. 4 people with knowledge: broker knowledge, trucking knowledge. What's your excuse? What could you possibly have as to be honest? I'm a blunt guy from New York, so at this point, it's like, what's your excuse now? If you're not on the phone with Paul, if you're not contacting me, it's like, what's the excuse? If you're just complaining, you don't have an excuse now. You have an option out. Make the call. How much is it? If I were to call you right now, what's the charge just to speak with you on the phone, Paul?
Man, there's no charge, but
no charge, right? Just to call you up.
I'll come up with the charges. No.
You see what I'm saying? There's no charge just to call and just to get set. The process to find out.
Yeah. Right.
And then from there, you say, okay, I'm in. And I talk about this all the time for the brokerage, price of the brokerage. And you guys have probably done the same thing. I have wasted, because I say that a brokerage is about $2,000 to get it started, the base one, depending on your bond price, of course. I have wasted $2,000 every year since I was 20 years old. Wasted it, guaranteed. Probably more. Probably much more. Tell my wife. To dive into this when it's a possibility of 5-6 figures. Oh, how do you not do it? How do you not do it? You know the industry, you're in it.
Yeah.
You're not trying to do, sorry, Spectre, any type of stock market or anything for, some people are trying to do. I'm not saying you don't know the stock market, but that's what everybody wanted to jump on when this stuff was booming. Here's an opportunity to do what you know. You know what I mean? So,
everybody thinks they know better. We're as truck drivers, we know everything. Obviously, we all encounter that. So, hey, do it, or just, sit there and be quiet.
Right.
Whatever,
I'm going to jump off here because
I think it's we're about time to wrap
I was
this
getting ready
up
to say
here.
I got to jump off. Yeah,
Okay.
I got phone calls coming in myself, so I got to jump off. So
All right, thank you, Spectre. I'll bounce you out. Thanks for stopping in.
Hey, dude, Adam, I'll get with you probably next week and stuff. And Paul, I'd like to even speak with you too. So
Yeah.
I got your number.
absolutely.
I'll give you a ring.
You got it, man. I'll be here. Okay.
Cool.
All right,
Thanks for having
see
me
you
on.
later.
Talking to you.
All right.
Paul.
Yes, sir.
This has been great. Hey,
Man, I appreciate it.
we do this again. Obviously, we'll keep doing it until people get it, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's good, man. I appreciate it.
I hope at least something valuable came of a connection or two today, or you'll probably be getting some phone calls tomorrow. People's level of interest is high.
Yeah.
Just sometimes they need more information, and you keep giving it out, and it's going to end in good things. So, one last time there, you want to give your contact information, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach me. You go to our website, www.fr8connect.com, and there you can go to demo and set a time, schedule a time that you'd like to talk. You give us a call direct, 866-342-0040, extension 109, that you can get me. Or you can send me an email, paul.k@fr8connect.com.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out here. Make sure if you're not subscribed to the channel, you go ahead and subscribe. And hey, there's way more of this to come, and things here are only get better as they go forward. We're making a lot of good connections here, having a lot of good conversations, and we're all going to get better together. So, Paul, you stick around for just a second, and everybody else, thanks for coming in, and have a great day.